Good morning. Welcome to RSBN Live. Alvarez, we are awaiting that press conference at 1 o'clock later today. A lot of news to get to, a lot of videos to talk about. We'll even look back at one of the Trump rallies back in the day, not really that far back in the day, but just last year on the campaign trail. And we have a number of live interviews coming up, and also we'll be looking at a lot of posts from President Trump as well. As we know, yesterday was a historic day at the White House. Really have not seen that many leaders at the White House at once, and it was historic. That's never happened before, according to President Trump. So we'll get into some of the video recaps. There's just a lot of material to get through as we await the press conference, again, at 1 o'clock today with Karoline Leavitt. So it'll be great to see that and get kind of a nice bow on all of yesterday's coverage, but also moving forward throughout the week. Usually at the beginning, Karoline, of course, talks about the latest on the president's agenda and scheduling. So we'll see if there's any trips or any certain things happening at the White House. We do know at 1 o'clock there's the press conference, but also President Trump will be signing a congressional bill in the Oval Office. So that at this point is closed press. It's listed as closed press. So we'll have to wait and see exactly what that is at 1 o'clock as that information comes out. But we do know we'll be live, of course, here for Karoline Leavitt's press conference at 1 o'clock, as it's 11:01 on the East Coast, 8 o'clock out there on the West Coast. Thanks so much for joining us throughout all the time zones across our great country. A lot of wins happening at the White House and for our country, a lot more wins to be had, and hopefully the right things will happen when it comes to those that have broken the law, especially those in the deep state. Justice will be served. So that is all within the court system, of course, receipts and the evidence and all of that. We'll see how that all transpires, but the Russia hoax and on. So on top of all that, we have these reforms that we've been seeing through President Trump's administration since day one. You remember he was signing all of those executive orders at the Washington Capitals Arena there, Capital One Arena, right when President Trump is inaugurated. He's then going to, through a lot of different events that day, and then already started signing those executive orders, as you guys remember, back in the day there, just a few months ago. It seems like it's been a while ago, but it's only been, 8 months or so? So, yeah, we're monitoring the latest news here at the network. So let's go to President Trump's one of his latest Truth Social posts about yesterday, and then we'll get into the historic meeting that happened there. I mean, it is about 25 minutes of a video, but it is a historic meeting, and we will replay that early on in this broadcast as we have a number of great sponsors to talk about as well. I know there's a lot of words right there, so if you want to read along, it's on Truth Social, of course, President Trump's post from last night, but also I'm going to read it in part because at the beginning, you see, he says, I had a very good meeting with distinguished guests. And then he lists everyone that was at the meeting. We talked about the various world leaders that were there yesterday. But in part, President Trump said, quote, along the lines of this Truth Social, you'll see, during the meeting, we discussed security guarantees for Ukraine, which guarantees would be provided by the various European countries with a coordination with the United States of America. President Trump said everyone is happy about the possibility of peace for Russia, Ukraine. At the conclusion of the meetings, I called President Putin and began the arrangements for a meeting at a location to be determined between President Putin and President Zelensky. Now, after that meeting takes place, the president says we'll have a trilat. That's a trilateral meeting, which would be the two presidents plus myself, so President Trump and Zelensky and Putin. Again, President Trump says this was a very good early step for a war that has been going on for almost 4 years. Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff are coordinating with Russia and Ukraine. The president said, thank you for your attention to this matter. So that, a post recently from the president regarding that meeting yesterday. And so what we'll do is we're going to go to a portion of that, most likely the entire meeting, which was about 25 minutes, just to review it a little bit, just to really pay attention and to listen to what all of the world leaders were saying. And then, of course, we have a number of shorter videos throughout the broadcast. We have a live interview coming up at about 12:30. Kira Davis, a conservative journalist who's written all over the place for the New York Post and many other places, worked at Red State and that kind of thing. A few things to say to us, and I was checking out some of her X posts, and I'm just going to read some of them to her and just get a little bit more information on where she's coming from, because it's what we the people are agreeing with and what we believe as well. We'll get to that a bit later, as we have a lot of coverage to get to as we are awaiting that press conference, which is going to be obviously at about 1 o'clock, and sometimes it's a little bit later than 1. We'll just roll with it here at the network. All right, let's go to All Family Pharmacy first before we continue on with our broadcast right now. So you see there, you want to be prepared, of course. You want the treatments your family might need before an emergency hits. But most pharmacies and insurance companies make that almost impossible with gatekeepers and outrageous prices. So we know that All Family Pharmacy is different. Here you can stock up on your essential medications, order exactly what you want, and keep it on hand so you're ready for anything. Now, while other pharmacies are raising prices, All Family Pharmacy has lowered theirs, giving you 25% off their most requested medications. Things like ivermectin, mebendazole, plus you'll get an extra 10% off with our promo code RSBN10. They offer medications many providers refuse, like ivermectin, starting at just $2 per capsule, hydroxychloroquine, mebendazole, methylene blue, antibiotics, antivirals, and more, all with a doctor's prescription included. So ordering is very simple. All you have to do is fill out that request online. Then a licensed doctor reviews it, and your medication shipped to your door in just a few days. You can check them out, and you'll definitely find something that you need there at allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN and use that RSBN10 promo code to save 10%. Also, a great new sponsor here at Right Side, Monetary Gold. Bank of America just announced that the U.S. dollar is on the verge of collapse. So think about that. Your savings, your retirement, your paycheck, all losing value faster than ever. History tells us, of course, that when paper money fails, precious metals win. So gold and silver have been the ultimate store of value for more than 5,000 years. So that's why now is the time to call Monetary Gold, the trusted name in physical gold and silver. They'll show you how to protect your retirement savings before it's too late. So you could call the number that you see on your screen there. You could also call 888-617-7994 or visit rsbnforthegold.com today. Don't wait for the collapse to happen. Be ready, of course, before it does. So Monetary Gold, a great sponsor here at the network. It's 11:07 this morning. Let's go to the 24/7 news cycle. That historic day yesterday. Many world leaders at the White House at once, at the same time. And if you saw some of the photos from the Rapid Response 47 page, you see President Trump at the Oval Office sitting behind the Resolute desk. You see the other European leaders, including in Eastern Europe, of course, with Vladimir Zelensky there. We know that President Trump made a call to Vladimir Putin right after that meeting. But, you know, they call President Trump the boss for a reason and the leader of the free world. You had the president sitting there at the Oval Office and all the world leaders kind of around him. Great to see it because, you know, we want to see the Russia-Ukraine war stop and stop right now. And that's what President Trump's been working on, along with a number of other items, of course, for our country. We'll get into all of that in just a bit. So let's just rewind slightly. I know a lot of you saw this, but let's go to it one more time. It's a 20-some-odd minute video, but it's really worth it, again, because of a historic day there at the White House. Check it out.
Well, thank you very much. It's a great honor to have you here. Special place. White House is special no matter where you're from. Represents so much, and it really is beautiful. And thank you for all of the wonderful things that took place today. We've had a very successful day thus far, and important discussions as we work to end the killing and stop the war in Ukraine. We're all working for the same goal, very simple goal. We want to stop the killing, get this settled. I've just had the honor of being with President Zelensky and all of the discussions that we've had. We covered a lot of territory, and I spoke indirectly with President Putin today. We're going to call President Putin right after this meeting. I'm sure we're going to have a solid meeting, good meeting, maybe a great meeting, and We're going to try and work out a trilat after that and see if we can get it finished, put this to sleep, because this is not since the Second World War has there been anything like this. So I'm honored to welcome NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, who's a great gentleman, great political leader in Europe generally, but now he's the NATO Secretary General, and you're doing a fantastic job. Thank you very much, Mark. Prime Minister Starmer of the United Kingdom, our friend and my friend, and doing really well. And people like him a lot. We all like him. Everyone knows President Macron of France, who's been with me from the beginning, one of the first people I met as a foreign dignitary, and I liked him from day one. And I like him even more now. That's pretty good. That's unusual. That's a pretty unusual thing. Prime Minister Meloni of Italy, who's a really a great leader and an inspiration over there. She's served now, even though she's a very young person, she's served there for a long period of time relative to others. They don't last very long. You've lasted a long time. You're going to be there a long time. Chancellor Merz of Germany, who is a very strong person and a very strong leader and very highly respected in Germany. And he's my friend, and it's an honor to have him as my friend. Thank you very much. Very good. You look great with your tan. Where did you get that tan? I want to get a tan like that. President Stubb of Finland, and he's somebody that, where are we here? Where? Oh, you look better than I've ever seen you look. But you've done a great job, and we wanted to have you here because you're somebody that we all respect. And you've had a lot to do with the success, I think, and the potential success. And thank you very much for being here. We appreciate it. And the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, who is somebody that we just made a big deal with all of those countries. I don't know. I think you might be more powerful than all these guys at this table. I don't know. But we had a great negotiation, and you're respected all over the world. So I want to thank you very much for being here. It's a great honor to have you. The Alaska Summit reinforced my belief that while difficult, peace is within reach, and I believe that in a very significant step, President Putin agreed that Russia would accept security guarantees for Ukraine, and this is one of the key points that we need to consider, and we're going to be considering that at the table also, like who will do what, essentially. I'm optimistic that collectively we can reach an agreement that would deter any future aggression against Ukraine, and I actually think there won't be. I think that's even overrated, largely overrated, but we're going to find out. And I think that the European nations are going to take a lot of the burden. We're going to help them, and we're going to make it very secure. We also need to discuss the possible exchanges of territory, taking into consideration the current line of contact. That means the war zone, the war lines that are pretty obvious, very sad actually to look at them, and negotiating positions. President Putin, also you have President of Ukraine, who is you just met a little while ago, and we're going to try and get a three-party meeting maybe as soon as we can. And I have a feeling you and President Putin are going to work something out. Ultimately, this is a decision that can only be made by President Zelensky and by the people of Ukraine working also together in agreement with President Putin. And I just think that's very good things are going to come of it. So I hope we have a good meeting. And if we can have a good meeting, I'll set up a meeting with President Putin. And if you'd like, I'll go to that meeting. And not that I want to do that, but I will do that because we want to save a lot of people from dying. A lot of people are dying, and we got to save them. We've got to save it. 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 people sometimes a week. All of us would obviously prefer an immediate ceasefire while we work on a lasting peace, and maybe something like that could happen. As of this moment, it's not happening, but President Zelensky and President Putin can talk a little bit more about that. You know, in the 6 or so wars that we stopped, we haven't had a ceasefire. And so I don't know that it's necessary. You can do it through the war. but it would be, I like the ceasefire from another standpoint. You immediately stop the killing. But I believe a peace agreement at the end of all of this is something that's very attainable, and it can be done in the near future. With all of the wars that I got involved in, we only have this one left. Of course, as I walk out the door, there'll probably be a new one starting, and I'll get that stopped too. But I thought this was going to be one of the easier ones. It's actually one of the most difficult. They're very complex. The next step would be for a trilateral meeting, and that will be worked out. And I just look forward to working and having a great result. We're going to spend a lot of time today talking about, and we're really honored you guys came over. I mean, these are the heads of major countries and respected all over Europe. And they speak for, largely, I think I should say, but pretty much for the other countries of Europe. And we will come to a resolution today, I think, on almost everything, including probably the security. And that's pretty much the story. I'd like to say, Mr. President, would you like to say something? You have the media. If you want, you could come over and you could stand, you could use mine, or you could just turn around, whichever you feel comfortable with.
Thank you so much. I can speak without microphone. Thank you so much. I think that we had very good conversation with President Trump.
Very good.
And it really was the best one. Or sorry, maybe the best one will be in the future. But it was really good. And we spoke about very sensitive points. The first one is security guarantees. And we are very happy with President that all the leaders are here, and the security in Ukraine depends on the United States and on you and on those leaders who are with us in our hearts. They have been online before yesterday, and etc. So a lot of countries on the side of Ukraine, our people, and all of us want to finish this war, stop Russia and stop this war. We spoke about it, and we will speak more about security guarantees. This is very important that the United States gives such strong signal and is ready for security guarantees. The second point, or maybe the first, humanitarian direction, very important to exchange all the prisoners, and I think that President will help. And I was very thankful to your wife again, Mr. President, for the letter about our abducted children, and I hope that really it can be a historic role for the people to bring kids back to the families and be happy and get the families back. Yeah. Yes, this is so important, and I'm happy that we discussed it, this track with the President Trump, and I hope that we will find decisions. And then what is very important, that all the sensitive things, territorial, etc., we will discuss on the level of leaders during trilateral meeting, and President Trump will try to organize such meeting, and he said that he will come or not come. Ukraine will be happy if you will participate.
Want me there, I will be there.
Yeah, thank you. And I think this is very important. Yes, so security guarantees, bringing kids back, and all our people, not only warriors, first of all warriors, and all the civilians, journalists, a lot of people in prison. So we need them back. And guarantees which will work for the years. We spoke about it, and I showed the President a lot of details on the battlefield, on the map. Thank you so much. Thank you for the map, by the way.
Good map.
It was great. I'm thinking how to take it back.
We'll get you.
No. I think that we had constructive, specific meeting, and I'm very thankful to all the leaders who are here, and you helped a lot, and so we are happy that we have such big unity today. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And I think you'll see that President Putin really would like to do something else. I think when we set that up, when we do, I think it's going to be when, not if. I think you're going to see some really positive moves. I know there's over 1,000 prisoners, and I know they're going to release them. Maybe they're going to release them very soon, like immediately, which I think is great. But we're going to set that up today after this meeting. So very good and great remarks. I appreciate it. Mark, as head of NATO, maybe you could say a few words, please.
Yes, I will be very brief. I really want to thank you, President of the United States, dear Donald, for the fact that you, as I said before, broke the deadlock basically with President Putin by starting that dialogue. And I think it was in February that you had the first phone call, and from there we are now where we are today. And that is, I think, if we play this well, we could end this. And we have to end this. We have to stop the killing. We have to stop the destruction of Ukraine's infrastructure. It is a terrible war. So I'm really excited. And let's make the best out of today and make sure that from today onwards we get this thing to an end as soon as possible. I really want to thank you for your leadership, what you are doing for Volodymyr, but of course also all the European colleagues. It is really crucial. And the fact that you have said I'm willing to participate in the security guarantees is a big step. It's really a breakthrough, and it makes all the difference. So also thank you for that.
Well, NATO also has agreed from 2% to 5%, which is something that is a massive amount of money. And it's 2% that wasn't always paid to 5% that is paid. That's a big difference. And so we appreciate that. That was a great move. Thank you very much. Ursula, maybe on behalf of the Commission, you could say a couple of words.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. And it's a very important moment. Indeed, we are here, Europeans, as friends and allies. We had a fantastic NATO summit. Together as the two largest and biggest economies in the world, we had the largest trade deal ever agreed. And now we are here to work together with you on a just and lasting peace for Ukraine. Stop the killing. This is really our common interest, stop the killing. And indeed, it's very good to hear that we're working on the security guarantees, Article 5 lies security guarantees, so important. But I want to thank you also that you mentioned the thousands of Ukrainian children that have been abducted. And as a mother and grandmother, every single child has to go back to its family. This should be one of our main priorities also in these negotiations, to make sure that the children come back to Ukraine, to their families.
Thank you. And we did. I was just thinking we're here for a different reason, but we just a couple of weeks ago made the largest trade deal in history. So that's a big thing, and congratulations. That's great. Thank you very much, Ursula. Mr. Chancellor from Germany, a very great leader.
Mr. President, dear Donald, many thanks for having us today. I think this is extremely helpful that we are meeting and hearing that the two of you are having such a good meeting today here in Washington. The next steps ahead are the more complicated ones now. The path is open. You opened it last Friday. But now the way is open for complicated negotiations. And to be honest, we all would like to see a ceasefire, the latest from the next meeting on. I can't imagine that the next meeting would take place without a ceasefire. So let's work on that, and let's try to put pressure on Russia, because the credibility of these efforts we are undertaking today are depending on at least a ceasefire from the beginning of the serious negotiations from next step on. So I would like to emphasize this aspect and would like to see a ceasefire from the next meeting, which should be a trilateral meeting wherever it takes place.
Well, we're going to let the President go over and talk to the President, and we'll see how that works out, and if we can do that. I will say, and again I say it, in the 6 wars that I've settled, I haven't had a ceasefire. We just got into negotiations, and one of the wars was, as you know, in the Congo was 31 years long. Another one that we settled last week with 2 great countries was 35 years going on, and we had no ceasefire. So if we can do the ceasefire, great. And if we don't do a ceasefire, because many other points were given to us, many points were given to us, great points. Please, Georgia, go ahead.
Well, thank you very much, Donald, Mr. President, for hosting us today in this important meeting. And I think it is an important day, a new phase, after 3 years and a half that we didn't see any kind of sign from the Russian side that there was a willing for dialogue. So something is changing, something has changed, thanks to you. Thanks also to the stalling in the battlefield, which was achieved with the bravery of Ukrainians and with the unity that we all provided to Ukraine. And the reason why I mention it is that we also have to remind that if we want to reach peace and if we want to guarantee justice, we have to do it united. So that's why it's a very good day, the one we are in. You can obviously count on Italy as it was from the beginning. We are on the side of Ukraine, and we do absolutely support your efforts towards peace. We will talk about many important topics. The first one is security guarantees, how to be sure that it won't happen again, which is the precondition of every kind of peace. I'm happy that we will discuss about that. I'm happy that we will begin from a proposal which is the, let's say, Article 5 model, which was Italian at the beginning. So we are always ready to bring our proposals for peace, for dialogue. It's something we have to build together to guarantee peace and to defend the security of our nation. So thank you, Mr. President, for hosting us.
Thank you very much. Emmanuel?
Thank you, Mr. President, for organizing this meeting and for your commitment. And everything was said, but I just have to say here, everybody around this table is in favor of peace. And we work very hard, and we've worked very hard during the past few years to have a peace which is a robust and long-standing peace. This is why the idea of a trilateral meeting is very important, because this is the only way to fix it. And by the way, I think as a follow-up, we would need probably a quadrilateral meeting, because when we speak about security guarantees, we speak about the whole security of the European continent. And this is why we are all united here with Ukraine on this matter. In order to organize such a trilateral meeting, your idea to ask for a truce or ceasefire, at least to stop the killings, as we discussed, is a necessity. And we all support this idea. And in order to have such a long-standing peace for Ukraine and for the whole continent, we do need the security guarantees. And the first one is clearly a credible Ukrainian army for the years and decades to come. And the second one is our own commitments, all of us. And we worked very hard during the past few months among the coalition of the willings, with the support of NATO, to build the different pillars of security guarantees and our commitments. And you can be sure that the Europeans are very lucid about the fact that they have their fair share in these security guarantees for Ukraine, but their own security is clearly at stake in this situation. So you can count on us, as we can count on you, in order to deliver this robust peace for both Ukraine and Europe.
Thank you very much, Emmanuel. Mr. Prime Minister?
Thank you very much, Mr. President, and thank you for hosting us here. Can I start where Emmanuel started, which is we all want peace. The war in Ukraine has had a huge impact, particularly on the Ukrainians who've borne the brunt of it, but it's also had an impact on Europe and on the United Kingdom. There's not a family or community that hasn't been affected. And when we talk about security, we're talking about the security not just of Ukraine, we're talking about the security of Europe and the United Kingdom as well, which is why this is such an important issue. I think this is such an important meeting. As a group, I think we've had a discussion on the phone a number of times, Mr. President, but be able now to be around the table to take it forward. And I really feel that we can, I think, with the right approach this afternoon, make real progress, particularly on the security guarantees, and your indication of security guarantees, of some sort of Article 5 style guarantees, fits with what we've been doing with the Coalition of the Willing, which we started some months ago, bringing countries together and showing that we were prepared to step up to the plate when it came to security. With you coming alongside, the US alongside what we've already developed, I think we could take a really important step forward today. A historic step, actually, could come out of this meeting in terms of security for Ukraine and security in Europe. I also feel that we can make real progress towards a just and lasting outcome. Obviously, that has to involve Ukraine, and a trilateral meeting seems the sensible next step. So thank you for being prepared to take that forward, because I think if we can ensure that that is the progress out of this meeting, both security guarantees and some sort of progress on trilateral meeting of some sort to bring some of the difficult issues to a head, then I think today will be seen as a very important day in recent years in relation to a conflict which has gone on for 3 and a bit years, and so far nobody's been able to bring it to this point. So I thank you for that.
Well, thank you very much. And, you know, it's very interesting because this is the first for the White House. You can't say that very often. It's seen a lot over the years, since 1800, 1799, to be almost exact. But this is the first where we've had so many prime ministers, presidents, the heads of European nations. And by the way, Alex, I'd like you to say a couple of words, too. You're a young, powerful man. Before I finish up, I want you to say a couple of words. Go ahead.
I'll take the notion of youth back to my wife and try to convince her. Thank you very much, Mr. President. I think in the past 2 weeks we've probably had more progress in ending this war than we have in the past 3.5 years. And I think the fact that we're around this table today is very much symbolic in the sense that it's Team Europe and Team United States helping Ukraine. And the progress that we're looking out of this meeting is about the security guarantees, which are a big part of this. And then, of course, moving towards a process with a trilateral meeting with you and President Putin and President Zelensky. Some of the international media might wonder, why is the President of Finland here? I think the reason is probably that we might come from a small country, but we have a long border with Russia, over 800 miles. And we, of course, have our own historical experience with Russia from World War II, the Winter War and the War of Continuation. And if I look at the silver lining of where we stand right now, we found a solution in 1944, and I'm sure that we'll be able to find a solution in 2025 to end Russia's war of aggression and find and get a lasting and just peace. The situation is very difficult, but that's why we're here.
Thank you, Alex, very much. Good job. So we're going to be meeting for a while, and we're going to discuss some of the issues. And I don't think there's any issue that's overly complex. It's at a point now where people want to do things. I really do believe. I've known him for a long time. I've always had a great relationship with him. I think that President Putin wants to find an answer too. And we'll see. And in a certain period of time, not very far from now, a week or 2 weeks, we're going to know whether or not we're going to solve this, or is this horrible fighting going to continue. We'll do our best to get it ended. And I believe you have 2 willing parties, and usually that's good news, but 2 willing parties that want to make a deal. And we'll journey together, and we'll go over and we'll see if it can be done. And it's possible it might not be able to be done. On the other hand, it's possible it will. And we're going to save thousands and thousands of lives a week. And so it's something we really have to do. And or at least we have to give it our best. It's all you can do. You can give it your best. But I think we may have a very good outcome. So I want to thank you all, and the media, I want to thank you. We're going to be staying here for a little while. Then we're going to walk over to the Oval Office, and we're going to have another little discussion about similar matters. And then they're going to go home to their great countries and report. And I'm going to remain here and work, and you're going to go and work. We're all going to be working we may be in a different location, but that's what we know how to do is work. But I want to thank the media. Has been actually very fair, generally speaking, very fair. I think it's important that they're fair because this is a very important subject. We have to get it ended. And so that's all we ask for is fairness with the media. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
All right, you saw it here yesterday, and then, of course, if you missed it, you saw it there once again. Of course, a historic day there at the East Room of the White House. That's never happened before, to have that many world leaders at once at the White House. That per President Trump on his Truth Social yesterday. So it was quite something to see each leader pull up to the South Lawn of the White House like that. Usually we cover 1 world leader or maybe 2 in a day. That was quite the summit there at the White House. Before we move on, as we await this press conference, I know it's about an hour and a half or so away. We have a number of live video elements and a number of interviews to get to. We'll get to that in just a minute. Let's go to Kalshi.com/RSBN. You can look at what the markets are saying on Kalshi. It's the largest U.S. prediction market about what President Trump will say during various meetings and other things that you can bet, trade, or just check out some of the polls there. You could trade on what will happen at the meeting, what will be said, will they shake hands, that kind of thing. That's for yesterday when it comes to Kalshi, but still there are a number of other elements that you can check out there, whether it's science, technology, politics, sports, really whatever. Kalshi.com/RSBN. I check out Kalshi to check some odds or track sentiment from time to time, and it's the only place to trade on these kinds of events legally in all 50 states. So you have that $10 promo for users who sign up with code RSBN and trade for $100 there. So a lot going on there at Kalshi.com. They have an app as well. Great app there. Let's switch over to Spring, Texas, where angelpaste.com. If you use that RSBN promo code, you get the discount off of the product there, the Miracle Cream, but there's other products as well. So you can get the Miracle Cream and a number of other great products from angelpaste.com. Use that RSBN promo code. They hire military veterans, a longtime sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Let's also go to Cove Pure before we move on. Always good to see something like this where you don't have to drink tap water. You have something like this great filtered Cove Pure. Glad to partner with Cove Pure for a number of reasons. As we know that Utah and Florida, they recently passed bills to ban fluoride in the water supply. So the question is, why are all these states suddenly doing a massive U-turn on fluoride when they've been adding it to our water for the last 8 decades? Well, RFK Jr. has been warning us about fluoride for a while, and the government now admits that the fact of fluoride is actually linked to lower IQ. So in a study done by JAMA Pediatrics, one of those medical journals out there, scientists found that fluoride levels over 2 milligrams per liter of water caused more than a 2-point drop in children's IQ scores. So that's another reason why we're proud to partner with Cove Pure. It's a filtration system that sits on your countertop, so you don't have to drill any holes or call a plumber to set it up. Just fill it with tap water, plug it in, and it gets straight to work. They have this ClearWave technology certified to remove up to 99.9% of impurities in your water. Anything that isn't water, things like fluoride or pharmaceuticals or even forever chemicals, they all get filtered out, leaving you with pure water. So once you try Cove Pure water, you're not going back to the tap water. And the best part is it has a touch screen that lets you choose whatever temperature you want, cold, hot, or warm. It couldn't be easier. So if you happen to like fluoride, of course, that's totally fine. You can get it through toothpaste or mouthwash, but the government, of course, should never force you to ingest it. So you can take back your right to choose, click below, or go to covepure.com/RSBN. For a limited time only, you'll get a special discount of $200 off Cove Pure. Great sponsors here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. They provide us the way to be able to show you all of the events that you guys have been watching over the past several days and several years. I mean, we've been around since 2015. Having said that, I know it's not Thursday. It's usually a throwback Thursday that I like to throw to a video from back in the day. Well, it's Tuesday, and I felt like doing one today. So why don't we do that right now quickly, as it's 11:38 this morning. Let's go to Grand Rapids, Michigan. This is a week after President Trump was the shot that we knew happened there on J13 in Butler, Pennsylvania, claiming the life of Corey Compantori. A week later, Grand Rapids, Michigan. It's a video that I like to play from time to time because it really reminds us, you know, where we've come from and hopefully where we're going as we continue this golden age. We want to see our country fully saved. We know it can happen through President Trump. We know it can happen through justice being served. But I just want to say one thing before I throw to this video. Again, Grand Rapids, Michigan. This is a week after J13. The American spirit remained strong and unafraid, and it remains so to this day. I just couldn't believe the amount of people that showed up right outside of that arena to pack out this arena you're about to see just a week after Butler, Pennsylvania. Take a look.
You can see the video right now. There's Mount Rushmore. Awesome, awesome sight in Rapid City, South Dakota. President Trump, this is one of the most powerful political ads that I've ever seen, showing the fake news. And of course, right there with all of the soldiers, with President Trump walking out. Awesome, awesome, powerful video. Obviously, looking at the border there, build the wall. We heard that chant earlier today outside of this arena.
We are one movement, one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. So with American pride swelling in our hearts and American courage stirring in our souls, I say these words to you tonight. We will make America powerful again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again.
What an awesome, awesome moment.
What is there to say, guys? I mean, we saw it there on RSBN. You've seen so many rallies. Being there on that media riser during a week after Butler, Pennsylvania, and to see the amount of people there that were saying, you know what, this guy is standing for our country. His life was almost taken just a week prior, and people still showed up. They didn't care. They said, you know what? And when I say they didn't care, they just showed up in the face of what just happened. You know, if real talk is, wow, that happened last week. Do we want to stand outside of an arena before we go into security? I mean, it didn't matter. The people were there. The people were saying we stand for this president. And now you fast forward to today. It's Tuesday, August 19th. You know, it's been more than a year since that video played there. And it's one of my favorite political videos. I never thought I'd ever in my life say, I have a favorite political ad, but that's the one. That's from, I believe her name's Sarah with the Dilly meme team. And, you know, you look at that video. I could watch that 5 more times in a row right now and just keep reliving that moment. But outside of that, what are we doing now, right? So we see a lot of wins, of course, by the president and by the team. And we see that the DOJ is looking into that criminal investigation into the Russia hoax. We see the DOJ is also looking into the Epstein situation. I mean, this is all stuff that's been reported and spoken about on X, on Truth Social, by our government officials. James Comer, the representative from Kentucky, speaking about a number of people that are going to be subpoenaed and regarding anything connected to Epstein when it comes to testifying at a House committee hearing. Hillary Clinton, and the list goes on. So that's still all there, but on the side of that is all of the wins that we're seeing and the reforms that we hope to see locked in for our country for years to come, forever for our nation until the end of time, right? So that's what I believe would really win the day and win the country, is to have those that have broken the law held accountable. Peter Navarro said the same thing outside of the White House just a couple weeks back. We've had a number of guests on here that have spoken about that. And not every day is a day of, as they say, as President Trump calls it, panicking. You don't panic every day, but there are times, though, to be like, well, those midterms, that's a big deal right there. And, you know, before you know it, 3 years will be up, and we want what President Trump has stood for and has spoken about with the 20 core promises to continue to be the reforms that we see all the way through. So we don't have something like we saw in 2020 with the election. So we don't have all of the lawfare that we saw against President Trump and against the American people. So those are the things that we still remember. This, as we still see great things happening, like yesterday, that historic meeting that President Trump called. I mean, think about the amount of world leaders that were there yesterday, sitting around, not only at the East Room, but around President Trump's desk, the Resolute desk, because after that meeting that happened yesterday, all of those world leaders were seated in these chairs right around President Trump. There's those photos out there. You can check them out at the Rapid Response 47 webpage. But, you know, that's what we're seeing. It's an unprecedented time we're living in. And yeah, so that video, if you're just joining us right now, we just showed a video from Grand Rapids, Michigan at a Trump rally just a week after J13. And the roar of the crowd when President Trump, after that event at Butler in Grand Rapids, I'll always remember. And it was quite electrifying, but also it was not only for President Trump, but what President Trump was standing and is standing for, keeping our Constitution, the law of the land, and our freedom, hopefully forevermore when it comes to our country. All right, let's go to All Family Pharmacy. We have a number of videos to get to and also some live interviews coming up in a minute. Let's go to All Family Pharmacy, as you see there on your screen. Specifically, of course, you want to be prepared. So you want the treatments your family might need before an emergency hits. But most pharmacies and insurance companies make that almost impossible with these gatekeepers and outrageous prices. So All Family Pharmacy is different. Here you can stock up on your essential medications, order exactly what you want, keep it on hand so you're ready for anything. This is while other pharmacies are raising prices. All Family Pharmacy has lowered theirs, giving you 25% off their most requested medications, ivermectin and mebendazole. Plus, you'll get an extra 10% off with our promo code RSBN10, so 35% off, not bad. They offer medications many providers refuse, like ivermectin, which is starting at just $2 per capsule. Hydroxychloroquine, mebendazole, methylene blue, antibiotics, antivirals, and more, all with a doctor's prescription included. Ordering is pretty simple too. Fill out your request online. A licensed doctor reviews that request, and your medications are shipped to your door in just a few days. You can check them out. You'll definitely find something you need there. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Use that RSBN10 promo code to save the extra 10%. Let's go from All Family Pharmacy to mypillow.com/RSBN. The free shipping sale still right there. Great to have that, as there are more than 2,000 products, variations of, you know, you think about all the different slides or slippers or pillows, right? There's a bunch of different either colors of the slides and the slippers and all different kinds of pillows. You have the multi-use My Pillow 2.0. You have the Go Anywhere pillow, all shapes and sizes. There's a body pillow. I mean, there's so many different ones. Yeah, the mattress toppers. I know you see there My Cross and also the sheets. The Giza Dream Sheets are awesome as well. So mypillow.com/RSBN. Save with the RSBN promo code. Also, speaking of our network, if you'd like to donate to us, all you have to do is text RSBN to 801-801 or go to rsbnetwork.com/donate. And a number of you have done this over the years, have sent checks to Right Side. So you can do that as well if you'd like to start doing that. That's at a P.O. Box. So let's go 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, P.O. Box 344, Auburn, Alabama, 36830. So thank you so much for donating to the network as we continue to cover America First News right here at Right Side. And a lot of people, we looked at the numbers over the past several events, of course, and in the millions of viewers. And it's great to see that. Also, speaking of millions, so let's first talk about Rumble. We love Rumble here at the network. It's great to see a streaming platform that is on the right side of history. We also love, you know, Truth Plus. We love YouTube because you get, you know, there's a lot of people that watch on that as well. X, a lot of people watch on X. A lot of people watch on our app, on our website, various places out there. But let's talk about YouTube as well, because we're not that far. I think it's around 14 to 15,000 subscribers away from the 2 million mark of subscribers just on YouTube. I checked on Rumble, we're at north of 500,000 there, so that's growing. So it's a new time, isn't it? You know, back in the day when you watch TV news, you know, way back in the day, it's 6 o'clock or 6:30 and you use the bunny ears, right? You use the antennas above the TV and you tune in the channel, and it's free over the air broadcasting. Well, now live streaming and live stream broadcasts are the wave of the future. They really are. I mean, look at how many people and how many of you out there do stream, whether it's news or maybe you have a streaming service or however you have you get your content. So it's great to see a lot of people saying, well, there's a lot of options out there, but I first want conservative media because the left wing, I remember yesterday, Justine Brooke Murray with the Media Research Center alerted me to the fact that, and then I double checked, that MSNBC is changing their name to MS Now. Okay. Or MS, I don't even know what it is. And the graphics, and it doesn't look good. But who cares? Because a lot of people are saying, you know, we don't want the fake news anymore. And they have to live with that. The years and years and years of lying to the American people. Even if there was a conservative voice that was hired at a network like that, I don't know what conservative voice would want to go on a network like that. I wouldn't. But the point is, it's still, people understand that it's still MSDNC. So sorry, guys, that's the facts. And I get business, but trust is part of it. And if you've lied to the people, you have to pay for that by simply, how about this? You go woke, you go broke. It's the same kind of thing. So that's not something that we want to mess around with. That isn't just, oh, some nice movie channel or something. This is the news. The news is not something you really want to mess around with because it really sways public opinion. And if you sway public opinion, then someone votes a certain way, right? So if you're swaying public opinion to the left based off of false narrative and lies and things that are against God, family, and country, and freedom and the Constitution and on, that's that whole brainwashing thing that we've seen out there from the left wing. So on the right side of history, you know, we're just like you guys. We want to see our country do great. We want freedom to be part of our fabric of our land forever, you know. We want to have our faith, have our family and friends, and create business and be capitalists and conservatives and vote for people that want law and order. I love the fact that the D.C. National Guard is in Washington right now. I love it. I can't wait to go back to D.C. and just walk around and be like, oh, this is cool. I'd walk right next to those guys, you know, my family. I'd be like, hey, thanks for what you're doing. Because that city, I cannot believe it. Can you believe that Washington, D.C., I looked at the numbers. I think it was 27 people out of every 100,000 are on average murdered. 27? That's bigger than a number of cities across the world, and cities that are where you'd think, well, no, that city has got to be a bigger crime rate than D.C. And then I saw from President Trump that some of the people in D.C. were giving fake numbers to look like crime is not that bad there. And then anybody in the media on the left wing that doesn't come through and say, hey, you know, and doesn't tell the truth and say, yeah, no, actually, it is very dangerous and that kind of thing. A number of people in the left wing have covered for the D.C. officials and said, oh, no, that's not that bad. I've seen some local reports out of Washington, D.C. as well. And the people, the residents of D.C., no matter what appearance, no matter what race, because we're supposed to be all on the same team here, right? Hopefully going for freedom for our country and living out the American dream. But I saw people from all backgrounds saying, hey, it is dangerous here. We are glad that the D.C. National Guard is here. And the only people that will be against this, again, are only the radical left extremists that are the woke mob and the woke media and those that love our country to just break apart and be destroyed. So we have to remember that. That if we, you know, if I did a report in D.C., say we traveled there this week, and I went with a cameraman or a photog here, and we just went to various parts. We went to some tourist areas. Maybe I would hire some security to go in some other areas, and just ask and be like, hey, what do you think about this? You know. And I would think that 9 times out of 10, they'd be like, yeah, we want that here. We want law and order on our streets. Why not do this in every big and medium city across America? Just a thought. I know President Trump has said something about that on Truth Social. So again, this is for just simply law and order. You know, it's cause and effect. The cause, you know, say you do something right, well, the effect is going to be something right. You do something wrong, it's going to be wrong. It's basic common sense. So yes, thank God for the D.C. National Guard. Thank God for our local law enforcement. Think about being a police officer in D.C. Maybe you're 23 years old and this is what you want to do. You want to protect the law. You want to serve the people. You're a good-hearted person, but you got to be tough. You got to get the job done. And then you're told from your superiors, or you hear from the mayor about certain ways to act when certain things happen. No. If there's someone breaking the law, you got to take care of business. And that's the thing. These officers, I'm sure a lot of them are happy to see the D.C. National Guard there. And I'm sure that's the way it is across all of the country. I speak from a little bit of experience not serving in law enforcement. My dad used to be in law enforcement and a detective. So anyway, shout out to all you guys that are law enforcement that are just doing the right thing. And a shout out to the Customs Border Protection agents and everybody that's trying to just do their job, make things safer for us. That's what we want. Thank you for doing that. Why do we have to push through so many things on the left, man? So many left-wing media types that come against all this. All they do is they call President Trump and our country just names. It's authoritarian to do something. No, it's not. If President Trump was a dictator, then things would be looking a lot different. He's just trying to make these streets safe. That's not a bad thing. So again, it's in the minority where people are speaking out, but they just have a big microphone. That's why we, go against the fake news so much, because that's what they do. They keep trying to control the thoughts and the narrative, and that really is a powerful thing. That's why shout out to Alex Jones and InfoWars. Does Alex get everything right? No, but he gets a huge percentage of it right. And it is an information war out there. And so we're part of it here in conservative media. And so when we say, hey, we want to tell it like it is, this is what I mean. We want to tell it like it is. We don't want to have some false narrative crap that the left wing's reporting on. All right, so it's almost noon here on this Tuesday, August 19th. Thanks so much for joining us. Looking forward to seeing Karoline Leavitt there at 1 o'clock. Before we get to that, we do know that President Trump will also sign a congressional bill in the Oval Office. Now, we see on the president's schedule that is closed press, so it's listed as closed press. So we'll be here live with Karoline Leavitt at 1 o'clock. And then as soon as we hear or get any information, or even if we do get a feed that may be a tape playback, so not live right in the moment, maybe we'll get that. Who knows? Maybe while Karoline Leavitt is answering questions from the press, who knows? Maybe we'll get a feed of that 1 o'clock, which is President Trump signing a congressional bill in the Oval Office. That's not going to be something that any network's going to show, because we would show it. We have our tabs on everything, and we would see a live feed if there is one. But we know that there's a 1 o'clock press conference with Karoline Leavitt. A 1 o'clock also, the president will sign a congressional bill in the Oval Office. Again, that's listed on the public schedule as closed press, the president signing. If we see a video come through after Karoline Leavitt's done with the press conference, we'll air it. If it's something that we upload later, you can always check the various channels here at the network to watch that. All right, so let's do this. Let's go to some of the recent trip. President Trump, of course, went to Alaska recently, but there are critical investments for Alaskan aviation. Secretary of Transportation Sean Duffy has this video.
I'm here in Anchorage, Alaska, Merrill Field, and we're looking at aviation safety in Alaska. So 82% of the state is not connected by roads. You got to think of it as little islands around the state. And aviation is what connects these communities, whether it's bringing people or products or services around the state. Aviation is critical. Just a couple days ago, I was in one of the towers, and the technology that they're using in their facilities dates back probably to statehood in Alaska. So the critical nature of aviation means that making sure they have the resources and technology to keep their pilots safe is crucial. And so one big beautiful bill gave us tens of millions of dollars to invest right here in Alaska to make sure that they drive their safety record up and deaths down. And so I couldn't be more pleased to be here. Thank you, President Trump. Thank you, Congress. And again, Alaska, look forward to working with you to make sure we make the critical investments and drive your safety record up further and save lives in this great state.
All right, so we're approaching the top of the hour, almost noon in the East Coast, or on the East Coast, and 9 o'clock there on the West Coast. Thanks so much for joining us, whether you're in the Central Time Zone, Mountain Time Zone, or you know what, I forgot, you have the Alaskan Time Zone, the Hawaiian Time Zone as well. So thank you guys for tuning in and streaming in wherever you're watching this morning, almost afternoon on the East Coast. This all brought to you by a number of great sponsors. We'll go into some more videos in just a second. Pure Health is one of them, though. If you want to drop some extra pounds, you can boost some energy levels while you're at it, or reduce swelling in your legs and feet, then you'll love these two American-made health supplements. First is Liver Health Formula, brought to you by Pure Health. Fat deposits in the liver can pile on the pounds and make you feel tired. So Liver Health Formula helps reduce fat deposits with nutrients like artichoke extract and milk thistle. So in a customer survey, almost 60% reported better weight management and 87% reported more energy. Next is lymph system support. The natural ingredients in lymph system support help gently flush extra fluid and toxins out of the body, which can help reduce swelling in the legs and feet. So right now, for a limited time, you can get 35% off Liver Health Formula and lymph system support, along with all 45 plus health supplements Pure Health Research has to offer. So all you have to do is head over to purehealthresearch.com and use coupon code RSBN at the checkout. Again, that's purehealthresearch.com with coupon code RSBN to save 35% on your order today. Let's go to monetary gold as well. Bank of America just announced that the U.S. dollar is on the verge of collapse. So you can think about that. Your savings, your retirement, your paycheck, all losing value faster than ever. History tells us that when paper money fails, precious metals win. Gold and silver have been the ultimate store of value for over 5,000 years. That's why now is the time to call Monetary Gold the trusted name in physical gold and silver. They'll show you how to protect your retirement savings before it's too late. Call 888-617-7994 or visit rsbnforthegold.com today. Don't wait for the collapse to happen. Be ready before it does. Great sponsors right there with Right Side Broadcasting Network. I was talking about Alex Jones a minute ago. You know what? Let me just want to say something else. Mad respect for that guy. For years, been going after the whole deep state and globalist thing, and nothing but respect for Alex Jones. All right, so also, let's go to another video here as we await the president coming up, or actually as we await Karoline Leavitt coming up at 1 o'clock. The president also will be signing a congressional bill at the Oval Office coming up as well. Now that, again, is closed press. So if we get any kind of feed on that, we'll air that or upload it, depending on what we get. Let's go to the fact that peace and American leadership are back under President Trump. That's Clip 4, Director. Let's go to that as we continue our live coverage right here on RSBN Live. It's wild to think that we're living in historic times. We really are. If we take that view, that 30,000-foot view that I talk about a lot here at the network, but when we take that view, see what times we're living in right now. This is really a time for President Trump to be a reform president, as T.S. Dixon has said when he's been on the air before here at Right Side, with all of these reforms being locked in and cemented for our future. Reforms like, think about it. Sealing the border, that's something that could be changed by another, president. But the thing is if we get the people that have broken the law, the deep state and that kind of thing with receipts and evidence, through the court of law and all that, you know, our country will be so much better off. So those 20 core promises will be long-lasting here in this nation. So we'll see what happens. We're covering it here at Right Side. All right, so it's 12:04 Eastern. You know, President Trump set the example by putting forth efforts to make America healthy again. These are words from, I believe, Pete Hegseth. Check this out. He said, that's why we are introducing, I believe this is from the Pentagon, are introducing the Pete and Bobby Challenge. So RFK Jr., Pete Hegseth. It's all about 100 push-ups, 50 pull-ups in 10 minutes. How many of you can do 10 push-ups? How many of you can do 20 push-ups? How about pull-ups? How many can you do out there? I could probably do, when I played football back in the day, probably 25 good solid push-ups, maybe 30. Now, holy smokes, probably 15, 20, but I haven't been working out that much. I got to get back in there. Anyway, all of that to say, check out this video from Pete Hegseth and RFK Jr.
All right, here we are in the bowels of the Pentagon for the Pete and Bobby Challenge. I think this was your idea, so I blame you. But it's all about Make America Healthy Again. We're going to be fit, not fat. We want recruits that are ready to go and challenge. What are we doing today, Bobby?
Well, Pete and I are going to do our part, encourage American youth to do this challenge. And the challenge is to do 100 push-ups and 50 pull-ups in any order you want in under 10 minutes.
So 5 minutes is the top standard that we want to meet.
Not going to be able to do.
Secretary of Defense shark attack. You can do better, Ranger Tom! Let's go! Make your country proud! Lieutenant Commander Gonzalez, you did the challenge in what time?
3:56.
3:56. 3 minutes and 24 seconds. Gunnery Sergeant Prince. Gunnery Sergeant High. 243. 243.
We want to send out a challenge to Sean Duffy.
I'm going to throw it on the military side a little bit too. Let's challenge the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, Raising Cane, and then my friend on TV, Will Kane. How about the Pete and Bobby Challenge? 100 push-ups, 50 pull-ups, but we hope Americans will take this challenge and you'll pass it along so that we're ready to be fit the way we need to be healthy, and to have a healthy fighting force. Go get it.
Let's make America healthy.
Amen.
One more!
Yeah!
There you go. Good stuff, right? So just imagine that. 100 push-ups, 50 pull-ups within 10 minutes. Some of them are doing that within 4 minutes. That's a goal, right? That's a goal. All right, so it's 12:09 Eastern, so let's do this. Let's go to one more video that we have. We're going to have a 12:30 interview coming up with Kara Davis. Last time she was on the broadcast, well, let's just put it this way. Hopefully you'll stick around for that. I know you will, because we also will be seeing Karoline Leavitt at 1 o'clock. That's why you guys are here, of course, and we're glad to facilitate and host pre-show coverage here as we are live on RSBN Live. Why don't we do this? Let's take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed, so join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hello
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can scan that QR code now, RSBN10. That is the code, easy to remember, for 10% off. This is ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, antibiotics that will save you and yours from bacterial and viral infections, NAD+, and much, much more. 200 essential medications and emergency medical kits, the meds you trust delivered to your door.
All right, so a video there earlier that we played from President Trump while he was meeting with the European leaders. We played that at about 11 this morning. We probably won't play that one again. It was about a 25-minute video, but still a historic day yesterday. You can always replay our live coverage that we do here at the network. You can find that all across our social platforms. Speaking of President Trump, why don't we go to a quick clip of President Trump during yesterday's multilateral meeting with European leaders.
All of us would obviously prefer an immediate ceasefire while we work on a lasting peace, and maybe something like that could happen. As of this moment, it's not happening, but President Zelensky and President Putin can talk a little bit more about that. You know, in the 6 or so wars that we stopped, we haven't had a ceasefire. And so I don't know that it's necessary. You can do it through the war, but it would be, I like the ceasefire from another standpoint. You immediately stop the killing. But I believe a peace agreement at the end of all of this is something that's very attainable, and it can be done in the near future. With all of the wars that I got involved in, we only have this one left. Of course, as I walk out the door, there'll probably be a new one starting, and I'll get that stopped too. But I thought this was going to be one of the easier ones. It's actually one of the most difficult and very complex. The next step would be for a trilateral meeting, and that will be worked out. And I just look forward to working and having a great result.
And of course, President Trump speaking about yesterday's meeting on Truth Social. If you'd like to check that out, we did talk about that specific post earlier in our broadcast. In the meantime, just recently, the U.S. Marshals Service posted a video, so why not show it to you? Here it is.
I'm the son of immigrants that came here in '59. Their son was able to have a career in law enforcement and then get selected by the leaders of this great country that allowed them to come on, right, and become the leader of the Marshal Service.
And do you feel the responsibility of wearing that star?
Every day. There's a lot of pressure not to let them down, right, to make the right decisions, not be quick. It is very easy to lead a group that believes in their mission. And that's what I find with the United States Marshal throughout the nation.
Great stuff right there. Again, shout out to all the law enforcement out there. Also, first responders. Thank you for what you guys do all across our country. And dispatchers, too. You know, taking in phone calls in emergency situations. There's just a lot of moving parts to help save lives. And that's partly, you know, what President Trump, of course, is working on when it comes to Russia, Ukraine, also with the D.C. National Guard in Washington, to just, you know, cut down or eliminate crime. It'd be great if that could be possible, but still at least working toward that goal. All right, before we continue on, let's go to a couple sponsors here at the network. All Family Pharmacy. You want to be prepared, of course, and you want the treatments your family might need before an emergency hits. But most pharmacies and insurance companies, unfortunately, make that almost impossible with these gatekeepers and outrageous prices. So All Family Pharmacy, they're different. Here you can stock up on your essential medications, order exactly what you want, keep it on hand so you're ready for anything. This is while other pharmacies raise prices. All Family Pharmacy has lowered theirs, giving you 25% off their most requested medications, ivermectin and mebendazole, plus an extra 10% off with our promo code RSBN10. They offer medications many providers refuse, like ivermectin, starting at just $2 per capsule. They also offer hydroxychloroquine, mebendazole, methylene blue, antibiotics, antivirals, and more, all with a doctor's prescription included. Ordering is simple. Fill out your request online, a licensed doctor reviews it, and your medications shipped to your door in just a few days. So you can check them out. You'll definitely find something you need there. You can go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Use that RSBN10 promo code to save 10% off. Also, callshe.com if you're looking for a place to either bet or trade, or check out a lot of the different polls, a lot of different current things going on out there. You can do that at callshe.com/RSBN. Also, there are more than 1 million users out there. That number is growing. There's an app you can download if you'd like. It's always interesting to check out how people are favoring or voting and that kind of thing on various topics: science, technology, sports, the weather, faith, politics. I mean, it gets really, really nitty-gritty specific too. It could be about a specific quarterback, or if he's going to throw how many touchdowns on Sunday or Saturday, that kind of thing. So callshe.com/RSBN is the website if you'd like to check them out. Great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Speaking of Saturdays and Sundays, right? How many of you like college football more than the NFL, or how many of you like NFL more than college? How many of you don't like sports? I know a lot of our country does, and they prefer sports. In general, though, I like college football more than the NFL. We're also going to talk to Kira Davis, who's written many articles throughout many outlets, including the New York Post and Red State and on. A great conservative journalist. She's been on the broadcast before. We're going to bring her on. We're going to talk a little bit about the NFL as well. There's something that they're doing that we're going to talk about in just a bit. And on top of that, just kind of the 24/7 news cycle, current events, all that kind of thing. So looking forward to that interview in about 14 minutes from now. And then that'll lead us into the White House press briefing at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. It was pretty funny the other day, one of the reporters asking about a new press briefing room, and President Trump said, "No, I don't want you guys to be comfortable." It was a pretty funny moment there for the press. A light moment for what is usually, not so light when it comes to the fake news. But anyway, American leadership is back under President Trump. This is something that was actually just sent to a number of the media out there, and also is on the whitehouse.gov website. So this is all about yesterday's historic meeting between the president and the European world leaders. So I'm going to go over some of that article here as we await our live interview. We also could go to a few videos as well as we stand by here for that press conference. That'll be, again, in about, 43 minutes from now. So we'll go there as soon as we see it. So as President Donald J. Trump convenes with Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky and key European allies at the White House, the world is witnessing the resurgence of American leadership. Through his unrelenting commitment to peace, President Trump is determined to shatter the years-long impasse and pave a way for the end to the bloodshed. So world leaders crediting President Trump's decisive actions for reigniting the dialogue. The Ukrainian president, Vladimir Zelensky, said, quote, "I think that we had a very good conversation with President Trump. It was really good. We spoke about very sensitive points," end quote. Let's go to the NATO Secretary General, Mark Rutte. He said, quote, "I really want to thank you, President of the United States, dear Donald, for the fact that you, as I said before, broke the deadlock basically with President Putin by starting the dialogue. From there, here we are today," end quote. The president from Finland, Alexander Stubb, said, quote, "I think in the past 2 weeks, we've probably had more progress in ending this war than we've had in the past 3.5 years. We know that the other guy, I don't even want to mention the other guy's name that used to be in that White House, even though that should have been President Trump in that White House after that 2020 election, but I digress. Anyway, let's go to the Italian Prime Minister, Giorgia Meloni. She said, "It's an important day a new phase after 3 years that we didn't see any kind of sign from the Russian side that they were willing to dialogue or for dialogue. So something is changing. Something has changed thanks to you. That from the Italian leader to President Trump. Let's go to the UK. Prime Minister Keir Starmer, he said, quote, "I think today will be seen as a very important day in recent years in relation to a conflict which has gone on for three and a bit years. And so far, nobody has been able to bring it to this point. So I thank you for that," end quote. We have 3 more world leaders to get through. One is the German Chancellor Friedrich Merz. He said, quote, "This is extremely helpful that we are meeting and hearing that the two of you are having such a good meeting today. The path is open. You opened it last Friday, but now the way is open for complicated negotiations." Let's go to France. The French President, Emmanuel Macron, he says, "Thank you, Mr. President, for organizing this meeting and for your commitment. Everybody around this table is in favor of peace. This is why the idea of a trilateral meeting is very important, because this is the only way to fix it." And finally, let's go to the European Commission President, Ursula von der Leyen. She said, "We had a fantastic NATO summit. We had the largest trade deal ever. Agreed. And now we are here to work together with you on a lasting peace for Ukraine. Stop the killing. This is really our common interest." So that from the White House just recently regarding the European leaders and some of their comments directly to the leader of the free world, President Donald J. Trump, as it's 12:20 Eastern time here on Tuesday, August 19th. Let's go to a number of other things that we see out there, including restoring law and order to Washington, D.C. There's a fact sheet that the White House has put out as well. So we're going to go to that. We're also going to go to some of President Trump's Truth Social posts as we continue to stand by for today's 1 o'clock press conference. And in about 9 minutes, we'll be joined by Kara Davis, a conservative journalist, and we're going to talk about a number of the current events that are happening out there, but also focusing in on a few of her posts on Elon Musk's side, of course. So we'll go to that in just a second. So securing the safety and peaceful functioning of our nation's capital. So President Trump signed that presidential memorandum to restore law and order in the District of Columbia. So we know that this memo directs the Secretary of Defense to mobilize the District of Columbia National Guard to address the epidemic of crime in our nation's capital. So the D.C. National Guard will remain mobilized until law and order is restored. The memo directs the Secretary of Defense to coordinate with state governors and authorize the orders of any additional National Guard units as needed. I think I saw, was it Ohio? There's another National Guard heading to D.C. as well to assist. So restoring the law and order. Washington, D.C. is under siege from out-of-control violent crime, and federal intervention is now necessary to secure the safety and peaceful functioning of our nation, the federal government, and our city. Washington, D.C. is a federal city because it is the seat of our nation's government. Violent crime that prevents federal workers from safely performing their duties and prevents Americans from safely accessing their elected officials is a threat not just to the city but to the nation. The White House says the local D.C. government has lost control of public safety in the city. In May, if you remember, 2 embassy staffers from Israel were murdered, and they were working at the Israeli embassy. In June, a congressional intern was fatally shot just a short distance from the White House. And just about a week ago, a Trump administration staffer was mercilessly beaten by a violent mob. Washington, D.C. has a violent crime rate that is higher than some of the most dangerous places in the world. Washington, D.C.'s 2024 murder rate, 27 per 100,000 people, is higher than Bogota in Colombia. Mexico City is at 10.6 out of 100,000. Islamabad in Pakistan is at 9.2. Lima, Peru, 7.6 out of 100,000. Again, D.C. is 27.54 per 100,000. And even major capitals like Paris and London and Madrid, it's 1.1 in London out of 100,000 people. These are the numbers here. 0.96 in Madrid, Spain. Paris is 1.64 out of 100,000 people on average, the murder numbers there, versus Washington, D.C., 27 per 100,000. You know, I wonder the numbers in New York, in LA, in San Francisco, in Seattle, in Miami, and we can go to smaller cities. They're not small now, they're medium-sized, but we can go to Nashville or Columbus, Ohio. You know, there's other places out there, and these numbers are pretty terrible. But the thing is we see that the DC National Guard is out there helping in Washington. Hopefully that could be the case, maybe in other cities, as we continue to clean up the country. So making America safe again, this again from the White House. We're about to go to an interview in just a minute. I know we're going through a lot of information here, but all important information from the White House in regards to yesterday's historic meeting and also in Washington, D.C. about making America safe again. So President Trump, of course, campaigned on the promise to make America safe again and restore D.C. to glory. So on President Trump's first return to Washington since leaving office in 2021, he lamented the quote-unquote filth and the decay that marred the nation's capital in his absence. President Trump later promised that his administration would take over the horribly run capital of our nation, Washington, D.C., and clean it up and renovate it and rebuild our capital city so that it is no longer a nightmare of murder and crime, but rather it will become the most beautiful capital city anywhere in the world. All right, so we'll stop there for now. That you could check out on whitehouse.gov, the information there. Again, these are press releases that are sent to the networks. I would think that only conservative media would even highlight any of this information because we know what the left wing's all about. They want more chaos. They want weakness. They want our country to be destroyed. They do. We see it because they wouldn't have lied so much and tried to stop President Trump from becoming the president. You know, the media had a hand in that too. They did. They just echoed the lies. They knew there were lies about the Russia. They know they were lying, trying to sway the American public. But now you guys, those of you watching here at Right Side, those of you switching to conservative media, other outlets and other, either influencers or people that have been in mainstream media but now have their own shows because of their name brand, and not only that, because they're great journalists. You know, now we have an opportunity to see what really is happening in our country. From people that care about it, from people that want our country to do well. So, all right, so let's go to a couple sponsors, and then we're going to go to a couple videos. We'll have a live interview coming up any minute from now as well. So, Director, which sponsor was that? All right, let's go to angelpaste.com out of Spring, Texas, of course. So you have a number of products there. You have the Miracle Cream and a number of other products that you can check out right there at angelpaste.com. Use the RSBN promo code. You'll get that percentage off. They hire military veterans, and they have a lot of great choices there for you. A great gift idea as well, angelpaste.com. A great sponsor here at the network. Also, let's go to Cove Pure, also another great sponsor, because you know what? These are great people that would, think about it, if they are against what we're talking about on the right side of history, I don't think they'd want to sponsor with us. So it's kind of cool that we're all on the same team here. And they have great products. This is a great one too. So Utah and Florida, they just passed the bills to ban fluoride in the water supply. So why are all these states suddenly doing a massive U-turn on fluoride when they've been adding it to our water for the last 8 decades? We know that RFK Jr. has been warning us about fluoride for a while, and the government now admits to the fact that fluoride is actually linked to lower IQ. So in a study done by JAMA Pediatrics, one of those top medical journals out there, scientists found that fluoride levels over 2 milligrams per liter of water caused more than a 2-point drop in children's IQ scores. That's why we're proud to partner with Cove Pure. They're a water filtration system that sits on your countertop. You don't have to drill any holes or call a plumber to set it up. You just fill it with tap water, plug it in, and it gets straight to work. They have this ClearWave technology. It's certified to remove up to 99.9% of impurities in your water. So anything that isn't water, which sounds strange to say, but anything that isn't water, meaning fluoride or pharmaceuticals and even forever chemicals, gets filtered out, leaving you with pure water. So once you try Cove Pure water, you're not going back to tap. The best part is it has that touch screen that lets you choose whatever temperature you want. So cold, hot, warm. It couldn't be easier. If you happen to like fluoride, of course, totally fine. You can get that through toothpaste or mouthwash, but Of course, the government should never force you to ingest it. So take back your right to choose here. Go to covepure.com/RSBN, and for a limited time only, you'll get that special discount of $200 off Cove Pure. It's the bottom of the hour. It is 12:30, about 30 minutes away from Karoline Leavitt. But in the meantime, let's go to Kira Davis, who is joining us right now live on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Kira, thanks so much for joining us on the network.
Hi, it's so good to be back.
It is great to have you join us again. Last time you were on, man, we just could have talked for 4 hours straight. Let's be honest about that.
Well, there's so much to talk about.
I know. You know what? And sometimes when we do interviews, and as you know, there's some people out there, if you're doing a one-on-one interview, say in local news, the people that you just press the button, they just start talking. You don't even have to ask questions. You're like one of those people. Like right now, I can press the button and I can stop talking. And go ahead, Kira. Go ahead. Take it away.
You like it. You like it. My family doesn't like it. It's only good for the news. It's only good for media. But believe me, I get a lot of complaints about how that button doesn't have an off button.
Awesome. I love it. Let's start with this. Let's go with that 30,000 foot view. What's your assessment on the 24/7 news cycle? You can go any direction you'd like, and then I've got some more specific questions for you.
Okay, well, I'm here in California, and as you know, we are dealing with this gerrymandering battle with Texas. And I live in Orange County, actually. We're the last red wall in California, and the gerrymandering map that the Democrats have approved will slice it. It will completely obliterate it. So that is top of mind for, of course, everyone here in California, but I think across the nation. Obviously, this is a national issue. Now, we have talked forever about how as California goes, so goes the rest of the nation. It's been kind of a cliche, but also, it's a sort of a joke. People always say that as a joke. But I need everyone to understand, this is the reality. This is what you're witnessing. As California goes, so goes the rest of the nation. That's why it matters to you out there in the rest of America, in real America. That's why it matters what happens here. I get this a lot. I get it so much. Kira, why don't you just leave? It's terrible. And believe me, people are leaving. Even in my meeting last night, my Republican committee meeting last night, there were people who were going, I don't think I can survive even until November. I'm leaving now. So people are leaving, but people always ask me, why don't you leave? Why don't you get out of there? Listen, you better hope people like me stay here. I'm the last thing standing between you and this nonsense. Gavin Newsom is responding to something that's happening in another state. He's our governor, but he is not governing this state. Imagine if he's your president. That's what he's running for. So people like me are staying here. We're staying put for now. I'm going to be here for as long as I'm going to hold out as long as I can. I believe this state is worth fighting for, but I believe that because I believe this country is worth fighting for. That is what is on my mind right now. The November 4th ballot here in California is going to have the gerrymandering on it. So it's all hands on deck right now. We're at a crisis point.
Yeah, and that's what we see throughout. There's parts of that state, of course, that are MAGA country, that are people that are like you, that are saying, you know what, I'm conservative, I'm on the right side of history. There's a lot of us, but unfortunately, you have places like Los Angeles. Now, there are some that live in LA that are on the right side of history, but you on X said the following. We don't have the graphic because I'm just going to read it to you, and I want to hear a little bit more of a deeper dive on it. So we know that the LA mayor, Karen Bass, recently said LAPD is investigating this incident as a hate crime. Anti-Jewish hate will not be tolerated in our schools nor in our city, which we agree with that. We will work to hold those responsible accountable. And your response was spot on. You said, maybe if you could pull yourself away from throwing your body in front of illegal alien criminals and actually did your job, this type of thing wouldn't be a thing here. You said, you're a disgrace, speaking about the mayor there, and everything you say is absolutely meaningless. Continue on, please. Please continue on.
I think I said it all right there, but really, she really is the pure definition of an empty suit, isn't she? There's just, it's all fabric and no body, no flesh underneath. It's just, at this point, after the fires, at this point, everything she says sort of just floats out there and lands with a thud. She doesn't have either the staff or the budget to do what Gavin Newsom is doing right now, which is he's buying up social media real estate to try to make a splash. I don't think it's working, to be honest. I think he's getting more flack for it than praise, but that's neither here nor there. The point is that nothing she says has any meaning or value. That statement is the perfect representation of that. She has sat on her butt for the last couple years, but particularly through COVID and through the summer of love, summer of BLM, and through all of this criminal activity in LA, she has sat on her butt and let these things fester. She doesn't arrest criminals. We have extensive hate crime legislation here in California, and LA County has added their own hate crime legislation, and LA City has added their own hate crime legislation. So it's hate crime on hate crime on hate crime legislation. It never gets used for hate crimes. It only gets used against people who might present as conservative or Republican or white, somebody who fits some kind of woke narrative. So she could have clamped down on this ages ago. UCLA has been exploding in anti-Semitic protests. All across this state, we have seen our universities explode with this. We have heard from Jewish students who are afraid to go to class, who are getting assaulted. We have had murders at synagogues in Los Angeles, and she has done nothing. So everything she says is absolutely meaningless. I have no idea what on earth possessed her even to post that in the first place, because it certainly can't be something that is amenable to her backers, right? Because she's backed by that communist, they're all anti-Semites, she's backed by that communist wing. So I don't exactly understand why she would post that. I thought it was a little weird, but yeah, it's absolutely meaningless. She can take a hike with all that garbage.
No, I hear you. Okay, so those of you joining us right now, this is Kara Davis, conservative commentator and journalist. Your work has been seen where? New York Post, Red State, all over the place, right? I mean, and we're talking about the Mayor Karen Bass there in Los Angeles. Kara lives in California. Let's move on to another X post that I saw, and minority Democrat leader Hakeem Jeffries said on X, he goes, "The cost of living in America under reckless Republican policies is way too high." He said, "You deserve better." Your response on X, Democrats acting like they haven't had an exclusive stranglehold on American government and culture for the last 4 years up until 8 months ago, is just, and then you put, mwah, chef's kiss.
Yeah. Well, I love all of their responses, right? I mean, their whole strategy is, well, this isn't working. Trump said this isn't working. This isn't what the American people voted for. The cost of eggs are too high. That's what trips me out the most. When they want to cut, they're still talking about eggs. They are obsessed with the eggs. They're still talking about eggs, and they come with the cost of eggs hasn't gone down. It wasn't about the eggs, idiots. It wasn't about the eggs. The eggs were symbolic of what was going on in America, but this also is symbolic of the absolute, I don't even know how to put this, and I'm sorry because I'm a writer and I should be more verbose. It's retarded. I don't know how else to say it. It's absolute. It is a retardation of logic. They are literally protesting against safety and against returning to some kind of normality in this country. And so their main strategy is to make it seem like, oh, Trump's failing. You guys have been exclusively in charge for 4 years, not just in charge of the White House and Congress. You guys have had the entire legacy press in your back pocket. And until Elon Musk came to rescue us and bought X, you had all of social media in your pocket. You even had, excuse you people, you even had representatives from the CIA and the FBI sitting up in Twitter, posted up in Facebook offices to monitor American citizens. And now you want to tell us, the cost of this living is too high. You had 4 years to do something and you did nothing. So now this is what's happening. The American people have decided they want something instead of nothing. And now the only response is to say, oh, well, this isn't very good. We could do better. But you didn't. So sit down and shut up. Hakeem Jeffries is mad because he didn't get that promised position. He was really on his way to become the first Black Speaker of the House, and everything that he posts is based on that disappointment. He was promised that position because they believed with their whole hearts that they could control the American people and depress the American spirit forever. So Hakeem Jeffries can take a hike with Karen Bass and all of those other liars. It's pathetic to me, but it's also funny, like how clueless they are. Y'all, it's only August, everybody. We literally just got here. You guys, we're still wiping away the stain of everything you did when you were in charge. So, and we're doing it, by the way, but unless you're going to come to us with some kind of real action items, with some kind of real solutions, we're not buying this anymore. Everyone's looking around and seeing that life is better. You've been talking about it on your show about DC is better. Even the Democrats have to admit DC is better. I got to tell you, here in California, traffic is better because ICE has been parked here for 2 months and they haven't left. And it is definitely making a dent even in how you drive daily. I mean, it's all empty. It's empty complaints. They're losing and they know it. And yeah.
I agree with you. No, I agree with you. And that's why I didn't cut you off there because, you know, I hear you. And you're right. They should take a hike maybe to another country that likes communism, you know? I mean, come on. Let's go to the next topic. We were talking way earlier in the broadcast. We started about 11 Eastern, and I know you're on the West Coast time, so thanks for being up with us here in the morning on the West Coast. I was talking about NFL versus college football, and I do prefer college football. I used to like the NFL more back in the day when I was maybe, I don't know, 16, 17. I liked the 49ers. I had family that live out there in California, in Sacramento. I like Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, those guys.
We're Bears fan in the Davis household.
Oh, really?
We're from the Midwest, so we're Bears fans.
Why the Chicago Bears?
We're from the Midwest. My husband's a lifelong Bears fan. He's from the Chicagoland area. So.
Awesome.
Yeah.
No, that would be cool to go to Soldier Field to check out a Bears game. But
oh yeah.
Let's go to, instead of going, you know, college versus NFL, let's go to one of those posts that you were highlighting as the NFL is now taking a stand in the political arena once again, adding those slogans to the end zones this upcoming season. So all 32 teams are forced to. Some may be like, you know, hey, that's fine, who cares? But here are the slogans, and I want to get your reaction on this. I'll read your reaction that you had on the X posts to let people know, and then I want to hear more from you. First one is end racism. I mean, that's actually a good, yeah, we don't want racism. Stop hate, choose love, inspire change. It takes all of us. Your response, you just said, I had to check the calendar to confirm it really is 2025. What did you mean by that?
I mean, this feels like a very 2020 thing to do. I didn't even realize the NFL was still on this kick. I thought we all got released from it last November, and I thought we all got to take a collective breath. I think what's happening is the NFL hasn't quite purged their HR teams yet. I believe that's coming. I believe this is still like some last holdovers. The whole thing is ridiculous. To put end racism in the end zone of a league that is 90% Black players who make far and above more than the average American could ever dream of making in a 6-month or year-long period. It feels a little ridiculous and also just sort of redundant. You know, end racism. Okay, is this a really groundbreaking thing to say? I'm against racism. Wow, NFL, great for taking a stand. I'm so glad that you ended racism by painting these letters in the end zone. All I want to see is these guys battle each other, beat each other up, score points. And also, let's remember that I believe that this is a symptom of the feminization of America. That's a message for women. Men don't want to say men don't care about racism or love or hate or anything when they're watching football. I know, because I've been married to a man for 26 years. He's an avid football fan. He's not thinking about racism when he's watching football. he wants to see the competition, the athletics, the sports. This is a very male thing, and somehow this feminine aura has sort of infused itself into our athletics, but particularly the NFL, and it needs to go. I honestly think there's just too many women in football. If you ask me.
Well, I mean, the thing is, it's interesting. It's that you go woke, you go broke. It's some more of that wokeness trying to still be a part of, a major league, and. I remember back in the day, I always liked watching, and you'll appreciate this being from the Midwest and being a Bears fan. Who doesn't like watching the Game 6? Okay, this is really diving into some sports here, but Game 6, Chicago Bulls versus whether it's the Utah Jazz or back in the day, the Seattle Supersonics, and at the United Center, Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, these guys, the announcer at the United Center, saying, and now for you. I mean, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. So the point is, when you watch these games, whether you're watching hockey, football, I don't care what sport you're watching. Let's shift down to Oklahoma City. I remember watching a playoff game there, Oklahoma City Thunder. And to your point, in the NFL, there's a percentage of the players that are black or there's some white, or whatever. The media doesn't want me to say the following thing on the left wing. At the Oklahoma City Thunder game, when the crowd went wild, when one of the players got a three-pointer, right? And yes, a majority of the team are black. The majority of the crowd was white. Where's the racism? What are you talking about, really, though? And that's the same crap they've been trying to throw at President Trump, that he's a What are you talking about? And so, I mean, we see it. And I think the American people see what we're talking about, don't they?
I think I think really, if I could just use one word to sum up what you just said, it's trending on TikTok right now, is fatigue. Fatigue. Now, TikTok, there's a black fatigue thing going around. That's very interesting, actually, to watch. But it's sort of spreading. Everybody's sort of, I'm getting, teenager fatigue or cyclist fatigue. What I'm seeing is Americans are tired. We're tired of being lectured to. You know what? I was at an event once. I was talking to a woman in the business community, and a very well off, and she's very influential. And she was trying to get me to agree with her on something that I didn't agree with. And I was just politely sort of dodging and weaving. I didn't want to be rude, and she was an influential woman. And finally she said, Carrie, you really don't like being told what to do you? And I was like, does anybody? I was like, no, I don't like being told what to do. But more than that, Americans don't like being told what to do. It's literally our DNA. We fought an entire revolution and then another one with each other, with ourselves, because we don't like to be told what to do. And if there is anybody who really doesn't like to be told what to do, it's the American male, as embodied by our president. So no, they don't want to be lectured to watching a baseball game or a football game or anything, any kind of game. It's a game. We're tired of being told that everything that we love and everything that brings us joy is wrong. We're tired of being told that we're wrong for just looking at our neighbor as just our neighbor, with no other qualifiers, race or religion. We're tired of being told that that's wrong. We're tired of being told that we're wrong for laughing and enjoying life and enjoying the blessings of this country. We are fatigued. You are fatigued. That's what all this is. If I could just sort of just detour for a second, but not very far, you may have seen this week a lot of controversy over the two male cheerleaders who have been added to the Minnesota Vikings cheer squad. And that's been very controversial even among conservatives, because they're saying, look, there's male cheerleaders. My husband was actually a cheerleader in college. he became a cheerleader in college because girls, right? You get to lift the girls, you get to, you get to work with the girls, you get to hang with the girls. That's why he became a cheerleader. And a lot of people are saying you're being hypocritical or you're just being an overreacting conservative. But I watch these guys on the field. I know what a male cheerleader is. And there's a difference between a male cheerleader who is doing the male part of the cheer and a male cheerleader who is acting like a woman, who is doing the female part. And that's what I am seeing with those two male cheerleaders. They're great dancers. They're great performers. I might want to go see them on a Broadway stage or in a play. When I'm buying a $300 ticket or more to a football game, I don't think any red-blooded American man or woman wants to see a grown man shaking his tail feather around like a woman. It's not part of football. It has nothing to do with football. Go do that in the WNBA maybe. Maybe that's where that belongs.
On top of that, I saw here in Auburn, I went to an Auburn Tigers game against Texas A&M, and Texas A&M and Auburn had the male cheerleaders too. And to your point, yeah, these guys are, a little bit more, buff and, throwing the girls up in the air and that kind of thing. And then so to your point, yeah, I saw the Minnesota Vikings ones, and they're dressed the same way as the girls are with the pom-poms and all that. And, I guess I'm glad I'm not in Minnesota because I wouldn't be going to a Vikings game. You know what I mean? I would go to a Minnesota Wild game for those of you that like hockey. But anyway, or Timberwolves, basketball. But yeah, that's a great point. And this is the kind of thing, man. It's just like, yeah, you still have some of these pro teams out there still pushing the woke stuff. And if they keep going, here's the problem, Kira. And those of you joining us right now, this is Kira Davis, conservative commentator and journalist, has written all over the place, Red State, New York Post, all that. The problem is if they keep pushing that envelope, if you go woke, you go broke. There's something called, and I'm going to sneeze the answer. This is very personal to me. It's funny because sometimes I say to my wife, all right, I'm going to sneeze the answer to you. Boycott. Oh, man. You know what I mean? Like if they boycott their, if they boycott them, and then everybody's like, well, we love college football. Bye-bye, NFL. But the emotional attachment's too strong for, I think, that to happen. I mean, come on. You tell that to a Steelers fan or a Bears fan. It's not going to happen. And the NFL knows that they have that emotional attachment, so it's going to be very difficult for people to pull back. But anyway, your thoughts about that, and we can go to one more topic I want to bring up before we get ready to go to D.C.
Yeah, I don't know what the NFL does about it. I mean, at my age, you get to be my age as a woman, and you have a lot less patience. I've raised my kids. I'm an empty nester as of this week. You have a lot less tolerance. So if I was in charge of the NFL, I would just be like, no, we're not doing this anymore. So it's going to take a leader, somebody who's going to say, we're not doing this anymore. What they'll see, they might be doing okay now, but what they'll see is when they untether themselves from this rock that is DEI-CRT, when they untether themselves, they'll see an explosion, I think, in participation and customer satisfaction, all of that. But yeah, I think it's just going to take somebody with some cojones to say, no, this is why I'm always like, liberals are like, the world would be a better place if women ruled the world. No, it would not. I have no heart when it comes to shenanigans. I raised 2 kids. I've seen it all. You get a nuke, you get a nuke, you get a nuke. Like, it's good that men are in charge.
Oh, man. I was going to go to one more topic, but you brought up something about being an empty nester. I believe, what was your kid going to college for?
Yeah. I just dropped my baby off at college. Yep.
For the mama bears out there that are watching right now, what was that like, obviously, to have your kid go off to college, but also within the framework of, we know that a lot of, or some colleges, like that indoctrination thing. So you don't have to get into too many specifics, of course, but just what was that like from your personal standpoint?
Well, I've already sent one to college. I sent him to college in Chicago. And every year he came back to me a little bit more conservative. Because it just really was so insane. And we've raised our children not just to be thinkers, but to be members of the kingdom. We're Christians, and so we have a higher calling. We have a tribe that is higher than our ideological tribe. And so that helps to have that rooting. But I have spent their entire lives deprogramming, always discussing. We've always tried to be a family that can talk about ideas passionately, but leave room for questions. And when I've seen my kids maybe stray a little ideologically, I've always left room for questions. Let's talk about this. Tell me why you think this is a good thing and a bad thing. When I dropped my daughter off, though, one of the things, now this being my second go around, one of the things that and I'll say this to mom specifically, that I have come to believe wholeheartedly at this point in my life is that nothing is better for your children than to cover them in prayer. That is a real thing you can do. Pray for the protection of their mind. Some of you might not have the option to not let your kid go to college, because sometimes that decision doesn't just involve you. And so pray for your kids, check in with your children, and if they are expressing ideas to you that seem out there, or you're worried about the direction, because they are going to be influenced, don't take that for granted. They will be influenced. Leave room for questions. Don't panic. I really believe in the Proverbs that tells us that train up a child in the way they should go, and when they are older, they will not depart from it. You might have to go through a few years of transition. Hold the line, cover your kids in prayer, and trust that whom God has claimed as his own will not fall away. I truly believe that.
Amen. I mean, it's the Bible, and I'm taking some notes here. My wife and I have a 10-month-old daughter, so I'm taking notes.
Oh, okay,
here.
You got some time, but it does go fast.
I hear you. You might have to email me a whole list of all the things you learned there. But anyway, all right. So last thing. So MSNBC, they think they're cool. They go to now called MS Now. I think it's because I read an article. NBC Universal, I guess they're not going to be in ownership with MSNBC, so the NBC part has to say bye-bye. So now they're calling it MS Now. Did you see their graphic and what it looks? I mean, it looks. I mean, when I went to college, our graphics look better.
It's ridiculous. Is it MS Now or is it Miss Now? That's what I'm going to call it from now on. Miss Now?
Yeah.
Or MSN Ow. That's probably my right. It's MSN Ow. Whatever it is, it's ridiculous. But to me, it is a brand change. I think it's a little more than just separating from NBC. It's a brand change. You've seen the purchase going on in legacy media, even in late night television. I think a lot of this has to do with USAID. I think we were funding most of the media opposition, and so now they're having to balance the ledgers now that they're not getting our taxpayer. Now that the enemy is not being funded by the taxpayer, so they need to rebrand. But I think part of this is also they're liars. Their brand is toast. Everything that they have said is wrong. Not only that, everything that they have said has been a lie. Their ratings are in the tank. Few people watch them except the true believers. And people like me who like to make fun of them. I turn them on every day, but only to make fun of them. And I think half of their audience is like, I think The View is only on the air because of hate watches. I don't think that Americans really like that show. So I just see this as the legacy press really trying to rebrand. Again, just to bring this full circle to where we started this conversation, we're seeing that in our governor here in California, Gavin Newsom. His press account has decided that their best strategy is to imitate Donald Trump. So they've been imitating the way he talks, they've been posting all caps, they've been insulting. It's really sad.
And they're not even good doing that. I mean, they're trying. What? Talk about being fake. They can't even mimic the president because you're not the president, and hopefully won't ever be the president.
It's so dumb. They think that's what is so hilarious. They think they're winning. I'm almost. This is my opinion, but I feel very sure that they're buying likes. But on top of that, conservatives are making fun of them, and they keep going, see, we're getting under their skin. No, it's ridiculous. We don't know what the joke is because it's stupid. The left can't meme. So, but Gavin Newsom, I mean, imagine thinking that the key to inspiring people is acting like somebody else. You can't out-Trump Trump. Elon found that out the hard way. Elon Musk, one of the most powerful men in the world, still couldn't beat the Trump wave. When they came head to head, guess who MAGA landed on? Trump. Because there's something about that guy. Newsom doesn't have it, but that is what is going on the left, period. They're trying to imitate what's winning because they know how badly they're losing. So I just see this, we're going to see this across legacy media. They're all going to try to rebrand. Their podcasting segments are rebranding. The only people that haven't been smart enough to rebrand yet are the Democrats themselves. I don't know when they're going to get it, but I don't think it's anytime soon.
Yeah, I don't think so either. They keep going further to the left. You said something about stupid jokes. Speaking of stupid jokes, I'm going to name 3 people, and then I want to get your reaction on them. Stephen Colbert, Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy Kimmel. Go, Kira.
Not funny. Again, 3 people that I think are propped up by USAID or were, and now the chickens are coming home to roost. I will say this. Fallon is the only one that gets it. He had Gutfeld on last week, and I think that is because he wants to save his job. He sees the writing on the wall. He understands that they have driven away most of their audience, and without that dark money that's been coming in, again, this is my opinion, without that dark money, that dark funding that's been coming in to fund them, they now have to rely on a genuine audience. TV ratings are already going down because people are leaving television for just, reasons of modern technology. This is the way our culture is developing. So they're already in a hole. Keep trying more of the same. Fallon realized that he's going to need to change along with the culture if he wants to save his job. So he had Gutfeld on there. The audience was not real warm to Gutfeld, but they did okay. Now, I just want to say this. I think we are in the midst of a massive, massive culture shift. The people who can't get on board their careers are going to die. So the Colberts and the Kimmels of the world, they're going away. They're going to go the way of Chuck Todd. Right? I don't want to say nothing bad about Substack because I have a Substack and I love it. It's justkiradavis.substack.com. You can go to that and check out all my stuff. I love Substack, but I'm an independent journalist. I am not a journalist with the prestige of a 3-letter network behind me. But some of those people have lost so much trust that they're joining the independent people like me on Substack. And but I was watching Fox News the other day, and I saw some Democrat politicians on, and I was watching another conservative network and a different conservative podcast. So 3 different networks in total. They all had Democrat strategists on and Democrat spokespersons on. 1 year ago, you never would have seen those people on there because they would have said, I'm not showing up on this show. I'm not going to normalize you. Right. I saw on CNN the other night, Dana Bash do a segment at the end of her panel, and it was about John Thune. After they passed the big, beautiful bill, he did a little TikTok and he dove into the water and he was like, yay, we passed it. And I was prepared for this all-out assault, and it was actually a really fun, light segment, and they were just saying, oh, it's nice to see a senator having fun, and, you got to celebrate the wins, and it's summertime. And I thought, wow, we really are in the middle of a massive culture shift. A year ago, Dana Bash would never have allowed that moment to go without some kind of criticism or snarky thing to say. So well, Jimmy Kimmel, Stephen Colbert, they're toast. They can't adjust. I think Fallon might make it. Yeah, we'll see. And it's a great point that you're making because the people are seeing, those that are, those hosts are seeing that the majority of the country are their audience, are their customers. Same thing with, if you go woke, you go broke. So it's the same thing in media. Right. Kira Davis, thanks again for joining us. Where can people follow you on X? Oh, it's always a pleasure. You can follow me on X at Real Kira Davis. And that's really the best place to go. If you go to my bio, you'll see links to all of my other stuff. It's so great to be here, and God bless America. Yep, and go Bears. Go Bears, it's our year. Take care. All right, so great interview there with Kira Davis. First time she was on the broadcast, just really letting it go for conservative values and freedom. So it was great to have her back on the broadcast as it's 1:03. Looking forward to seeing Karoline Leavitt there at the press conference. This is what we'll do. We're going to go through a couple sponsors quickly.
Also, within that framework, if Karoline Leavitt appears to the podium, we'll go right directly to that, even in the middle of a sponsor. Now, here's the thing. Right after the press conference is over, we'll pick that sponsor right back up. But let's start with All Family Pharmacy. You want to be prepared, of course. You want the treatments your family might need before an emergency hits. But most pharmacies and insurance companies make that almost impossible with gatekeepers and outrageous prices. So All Family Pharmacy, they're different. Here you can stock up on your essential medications, order exactly what you want, keep it on hand so you're ready for anything. While other pharmacies, they raise prices, All Family Pharmacy actually has lowered theirs, giving you 25% off their most requested medications, which is ivermectin and mebendazole. Plus, you'll get an extra 10% off with our promo code RSBN10. So they offer medications many providers refuse, like ivermectin starting at just $2 per capsule, hydroxychloroquine, mebendazole, methylene blue, antibiotics, antivirals, and more. All with a doctor's prescription included. So ordering is really simple. All you have to do is fill out your request online. A licensed doctor reviews it, and your medication shipped to your door in just a few days. You can check them out. You'll definitely find something you need there. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Use that RSBN10 promo code to save 10%. Also, let's go to Pure Health. If you want to drop a few extra pounds and boost some energy levels or reduce swelling in your legs and feet, then you'll love these two American-made health supplements. Okay, so first is Liver Health Formula, brought to you by Pure Health. Fat deposits in the liver can pile on the pounds and make you feel tired. So Liver Health Formula helps reduce fat deposits with nutrients like artichoke extract and milk thistle. So in a customer survey, almost 60% reported better weight management and 87% reported more energy. Next is lymph system support. The natural ingredients in lymph system support help gently flush extra fluid and toxins out of the body, which can help reduce swelling in the legs and feet. So right now, for a limited time, you can get 35% off Liver Health Formula and lymph system support, along with all 45 plus health supplements that Pure Health has to offer. Now, this is Pure Health Research that has to offer there. So go to purehealthresearch.com and use that coupon code RSBN at checkout. That's purehealthresearch.com with coupon code RSBN to save that 35% on your order. It's 1:06 Eastern. We're looking live right there at the press briefing room at the West Wing of the White House. Of course, you see all the journalists sitting there, so that means any minute now, Karoline Leavitt will take to that podium. This on the heels of a very historic day, of course, at the White House. So many European leaders there. That's the first time something like that has happened, where there's that many leaders at the White House at once for a meeting. So it was a White House summit of sorts, and a very positive and good meeting, according to President Trump. So we'll see what happens. Will that trilateral meeting happen? Well, the president says President Putin and Zelensky has to meet, and then after that, there would be a trilat, which is a trilateral meeting with President Trump, Zelensky, and Putin. So obviously that'll be must-watch streaming, which has been the case here at the network. When you saw Robert McNeely on Friday when President Trump was in Alaska, millions of viewers that day, and I believe more than 1 million just yesterday as well for the huge multilateral meeting at the White House. So thank you guys so much for relying on Right Side Broadcasting show coverage here, and we bring you these live events here at RSBN Live. Once again, my name is Matthew Alvarez. If you'd like to follow me on Truth Social, it's at Matthew Alvarez. You can also follow RSBN, of course, at RSBN on Truth. On X, it's just at RSB Network. And then, of course, Robert McNeely, when you see him again, you can follow him on Truth Social as well. I believe it's Robert McNeely, at Robert McNeely. You can search for him on there on Truth Social. So 1:07 Eastern, Tuesday, August 19th. Any minute from now, we'll see Karoline Leavitt. Now, one thing that we learned months ago was that prior to walking out there to speak to the world, I mean, there are agencies, news agencies, not only domestically, but internationally, of course, at the White House press briefing. Karoline and the Office of Communications at the White House, a team of them, they pray right before they go out that door. It's literally right on the other side of that blue door that you see on the left side of your screen on the right split screen. Pretty cool stuff that they, pray to God and ask him for him to be there while they go out and do this work, which is great work for freedom, great work for faith. And I was thinking about those two words just yesterday, actually. Faith and freedom. Without having faith and freedom, our country, how would we have created so many great things in this nation? How would we have come to where we are without having faith and freedom? Beautiful words. I don't always think about those kind of things when I'm off. We were just at the Gulf of America over the weekend. It was a great time there. So hopefully you enjoyed some summer vacations so far. There's still some more summer to go. Don't let them fool you that school's here now, and that means it's not summer. So we know we have a number of days until fall starts anyway. I believe that's what, September 22nd. So, all right, so it's 1:09 Eastern, Tuesday, August 19th. Now, we do know that President Trump at this hour is also, now this is a closed press event, the president is signing a congressional bill in the Oval Office. Now, in the public schedule, that says closed press. So that's happening at the Oval Office. And then, of course, the press briefing's happening right now. So if we do get a video feed, none of the networks are showing that live right now because it's a closed press event. We also see all of the feeds here at the network. So if we saw that, we would go to that as well. But if we do get a tape playback on that, we'll be able to show that to you maybe after Karoline Leavitt's done with this press conference, or we can upload it to our various social platforms. We'll see what happens. In the meantime, let's go to mypillow.com/RSBN. More than 2,000 products for you there. Free shipping, always a great thing, of course. MyCross is one of the products. You see the bed sheets and the multi-use MyPillow 2.0. A lot of great choices there for you, and quality products as well. So great to have MyPillow as part of Right Side Broadcasting Network. As we await Karoline Leavitt, we can go to one of our new sponsors as well. Monetary Gold. Bank of America is announcing that the U.S. dollar is on the verge of collapse. So think about that. Your savings, your retirement, your paycheck, all losing value faster than ever. And history tells us that when paper money fails, precious metals win. Gold and silver have been the ultimate store of value for more than 5,000 years. So that's why now is the time to call Monetary Gold, the trusted name in physical gold and silver. They'll show you how to protect your retirement savings before it's too late. So 888-617-7994 is a number to call. You also see another number there, the 800 number. Or go to rsbnforthegold.com today. You don't have to wait for that collapse to happen. Be ready before it does. And that's Monetary Gold, a great sponsor here at Right Side, as it's 111 111 Eastern time. It's great to have Kira Davis on the broadcast. Again, I first saw Kira Davis's work on the New York Post talking about the American Eagle jeans ad that was out just a few weeks ago. She wrote a great article in the Post. We had her on the network and had her on again today. We have a number of other people that we're going to be interviewing this week as well as we continue to cover 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue and any other conservative news, other stories that we see happening out there, stories that you guys are talking about, a lot of you out there, when it comes to how things affect our country and what's needed for our country to continually be saved. So we see maybe the new media seat, someone's getting seated right there, so we'll see who that is momentarily from Karoline Leavitt. I believe we are T-minus less than 2 minutes out. Let's see if I'm right about that. So it's 1:12, 1:14. Before 1:14 or at 1:14, we'll see Karoline Leavitt as we're live here at the network. We've been live since 11 this morning. We've thrown to a lot of 24/7 news cycle videos when it comes to what's being talked about out there. We heard from the Secretary of Transportation, Sean Duffy, on investments into Alaskan aviation, as the president, of course, was just there just a few days ago, so on Friday, the 15th. So a number of great elements that we had here. So if you'd like to watch the replay after this press conference is over, go ahead. Even though it's on a replay, it's still pretty fresh news, a lot of what's going on out there, and we'd like to have that for you here at Right Side. So any minute now, we'll see Karoline Leavitt. In the meantime, let's see if President Trump has posted any new posts on Truth Social. We know that he spoke on the phone this morning on Fox with the crew there. He also posted a Breitbart article. It was great to see the president posting the Right Side Broadcasting Network event that was in Alaska on Friday. He posted just about a 12-minute clip from he and Vladimir Putin. So it was great to see that. Also, the president posting an article from Just the News talking about the U.S. economy maintains its high S&P credit rating. Analysts find Trump tariffs offset his tax cuts. We saw that article. President Trump also speaking about the windmills out there. Let's go to Karoline Leavitt in the meantime.
Good afternoon. How are you? Good to see all of you. What we've witnessed President Trump accomplish over the last few days has been nothing short of remarkable. We are now 3.5 years into the war between Russia and Ukraine, a brutal conflict that has claimed hundreds of thousands of Russian and Ukrainian lives and cost trillions of dollars. The weakness and incompetence of Joe Biden foolishly allowed the killing to start in the first place. Until President Trump returned to office in January, the bloody and broken Biden status quo was to endlessly force American taxpayers to fund Ukraine no matter the cost, no matter how long it takes, and no matter how many lives were lost. There is no denying that Biden's America Last foreign policy moved the world further away from peace. President Trump rejected that failed approach and instead, over the last 7 months, has relentlessly pursued peace throughout his second term. And thanks to President Trump's efforts, we finally have movement after years of deadly gridlock. On Friday, as you all know, many of you were there, President Trump hosted Russian President Vladimir Putin in Anchorage, Alaska, for a bilateral meeting. This was the first time President Putin has been to the United States since 2015, and the first time he has met with an American president in years. President Putin publicly confirmed what President Trump has said all along. The war between Russia and Ukraine never would have started in the first place if President Trump were in office. This was always obvious to any person with a shred of common sense. Just look at what took place during the last 4 administrations. Under George W. Bush, Russia invaded Georgia. Under Barack Obama, Russia took Crimea. Under Joe Biden, Russia invaded Ukraine. But under President Trump, Russia did not invade nor take anything. President Trump is the only president this century, Republican or Democrat, who has held Russia in check and ensured peace in Europe. That's because Russia has always greatly respected President Trump and his peace through strength foreign policy approach. But overall, the bilateral talks in Alaska were very productive, and multiple key points were agreed to between the two leaders that truly opened up the door for Phase 2 discussions, which took place yesterday here at the White House. Within 48 hours of that meeting in Anchorage, I may add. As you all know, there were many European leaders here, as well as Ukrainian President Zelensky. They all traveled here to meet with President Trump to maintain the momentum and work toward a lasting peace. Across the board, every leader credited President Trump for his decisive leadership that has reignited the dialogue in hopes of finally bringing this war to a peaceful conclusion. 2 quotes in particular capture the progress that was made and the optimism moving forward. Finnish President Alexander Stubb said, "I think in the past 2 weeks, we've probably had more progress in ending this war than we have had in the past 3.5 years. Again, that is the president of Finland, a country that shares a border with Russia. That's what we call the President Trump effect. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte also summed it up well. Without President Trump, this deadlock with Putin would not have been broken. He is the only one who could do this." Following the encouraging conversations yesterday, President Trump spoke with President Putin by phone, and he agreed to begin the next phase of the peace process, a meeting between President Putin and President Zelensky, which would be followed, if necessary, by a trilateral meeting between President Putin, President Zelensky, and President Trump. As the president said, Vice President Vance, Secretary Rubio, and Special Envoy Witkoff will continue to coordinate with Russia and Ukraine to make this happen as soon as possible. It's very important to remember that before President Trump's landslide victory last November, there was no end in sight to this bloodshed. Now there may finally be light at the end of the tunnel and an opportunity for lasting peace. That's because President Trump is the peace president, and American leadership is back on the world stage. It should not be lost on anyone in this room that world leaders are coming right here to Washington, D.C. for help. While previous presidents have traveled halfway around the world to apologize for America, President Trump stands up for America, and he has firmly restored America's status as the undisputed leader of the free world. However, one thing that has absolutely not changed is the media's negative and downright false coverage of President Trump and his foreign policy accomplishments. From the beginning of this entire process, much of the left-wing media has been actively rooting against the President of the United States in the pursuit of peace. Initially, the media ridiculously claimed that President Trump was somehow beholden to Russia for even agreeing to have a face-to-face discussion with President Putin inside of the United States. The media said President Trump was making a grave mistake by, quote, legitimizing Putin. They were aghast that President Trump would treat another world leader like a world leader. The media relentlessly attacked President Trump and claimed he suffered a, quote, major defeat for not immediately emerging with a final agreement, even though he said heading into that meeting, this was a meeting to listen and to understand how to move the ball forward. All weekend following those historic U.S.-Russia bilateral talks, we listened to clueless pundits on television trying but failing to claim that the president had failed. The so-called experts in the foreign policy establishment, whose record is nothing but endless wars, trillions of wasted taxpayer dollars, and dead Americans, have the nerve to try and lecture President Trump, who has solved 7 global conflicts in 7 months, about peace. This is the same president, by the way, who brokered the Abraham Accords in his first term, on top of more than half a dozen other peace deals this year alone, as I just said. We also saw yesterday the president of Ukraine and all of the other major leaders of Europe fly across the Atlantic Ocean to meet President Trump at the White House because of the progress that was made, and that, if you ask the media, failed meeting, but it was not. It was highly productive and it was successful. This is why Americans' trust in the mass media is at a lowest point in more than 5 decades. Diplomacy is a delicate process, and instead of reporting the facts about what is happening here at this White House and what is happening between this president and other leaders around the world, many outlets in this room continue to try to actively undermine the president and sabotage the efforts towards peace. That is why I felt the need to set the record straight. In other news, on the home front, President Trump's efforts to make D.C. safe again are working. There have been a total of 465 arrests since the start of this operation on Thursday, August 7th. Last night, there were a total of 52 arrests, including the arrest of an illegal alien MS-13 gang member with convictions for DWI and drug possession. Thanks to President Trump's leadership and the outstanding work of both federal and local law enforcement, dangerous gang members like the one picked up last night will not be allowed on the streets of our nation's capital. Other arrests last night included assault with a deadly weapon for stabbing, parole violation for robbery, murder, outstanding warrant for attempted murder, assault on federal law enforcement officer, and felony assault. 4 more homeless encampments were also removed during yesterday's reporting period. To date, a total of 48 homeless encampments have been cleared in Washington, D.C. by multi-agency teams. MPD patrol units are actively working with city officials to locate and clear additional encampments and remove homeless residents off of Washington's streets. And despite fake narratives from the media, again, a significant number of the arrests have been in high-crime areas of D.C. In fact, nearly half of all of the non-illegal alien-related arrests have occurred in wards 7 and 8, the 2 wards that have the highest number of violent crime, as well as homicides and assaults with dangerous weapons last year. So while Democrats continue to coddle violent criminals, President Trump and this administration are focused on putting them behind bars and unapologetically standing up for the safety of law-abiding American citizens, and the White House will continue to provide all of you with the results of this operation in the days ahead. So with that, I will take your questions today. Here in our new media seat today, we have Jack Posobiec, who joined us in Anchorage, Alaska last week. Jack, thanks for being here. Why don't you kick us off?
Karoline, thanks so much. So a couple of questions regarding the status of these peace talks. Obviously, we saw the President and President Putin there in Anchorage. We saw the world leaders here yesterday with this summit. We've heard phrases like coalition of the willing. We've also heard Article 5-like guarantees. When it comes to the security guarantees, what is the current status of that? I know the President earlier today mentioned boots on the ground with the UK, France, Germany possibly, but unequivocally said no U.S. troops on the ground, but U.S. coordination. Can you elaborate on that, and what would the red lines be?
Sure. Well, you got to the heart of what I was going to say to all of you today on security guarantees, which is the president has definitively stated U.S. boots will not be on the ground in Ukraine, but we can certainly help in the coordination and perhaps provide other means of security guarantees to our European allies. The president understands security guarantees are crucially important to ensure a lasting peace, and he has directed his national security team to coordinate with our friends in Europe and also to continue to cooperate and discuss these matters with Ukraine and Russia as well.
Karoline, now have the Russians responded at all? I know he spoke with President Putin last night. What has been their response? Because we've heard some reports from the Kremlin and others saying they're unequivocally against NATO troops on the ground.
Well, look, the president continues to have these conversations with both leaders. Those conversations took place in Anchorage, Alaska, again yesterday with the Europeans and President Zelensky, and he has directed his team to come up with a framework for these security guarantees that can be acceptable to help ensure a lasting peace and end this war.
And then just last question real quick on this. Regarding some of the funding, we're hearing questions about another round of weapons sales or possibly a round of U.S. purchases of Ukrainian drones. Will that money be funded by the U.S. taxpayers? Are we finally going to see an end to the U.S. taxpayer-funded, seemingly endless mandate for these foreign wars?
Well, the president is very sensitive to the needs of the American taxpayer, and immediately upon entering office back in January, he made it very clear that we're not going to continue writing blank checks to fund a war very far away, which is why he came up with the very creative solution to have NATO purchase American weaponry because it is the best in the world, and then to backfill the needs of the Ukrainian army and the Ukrainian people and their military. So that's the solution the president has came up with. We'll continue to see that forward. As for any additional sales, I'll have to defer you to the Department of Defense.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Jack. Kelly.
What has President Trump learned that tells him that Vladimir Putin would be willing to make a deal for him, for President Trump?
Well, the president has learned a lot, which is part of the reason he opened up this dialogue. The previous administration, who oversaw the beginning of this war, refused to talk. And President Trump has always said, in order to learn, in order to move the ball forward with diplomacy and towards peace, you have to have open dialogue. And so that's why the president has had several conversations by phone and, of course, an in-person meeting last Friday with President Putin. He also has talked to President Zelensky dozens of times, had him here at the White House yesterday, and he's understanding what both sides want, what both sides are going to have to give up. And he has always said, in order to get a good deal, both sides are going to have to walk away a little bit unhappy. So he continues to learn a lot throughout these conversations, which is why we've seen progress from both sides. And I would also just add, when it comes to learning and moving the ball forward, look at how both Russia and Ukraine have actually talked directly for the first time in many years, thanks to the efforts of this president and this administration.
Specifically for President Trump, though, what do you think Putin's motivation is to try to do something for President Trump, as opposed to just resolving the conflict?
I think, as I just spoke to in my opening remarks, Kelly, Russia and all countries around this world actually respect the United States again, and the president is using the might of American strength to demand that respect from our allies, our friends, our adversaries all around the world. And we've seen that not just lead to progress with Russia and Ukraine, but also we've seen it in the closing of 7 global conflicts around the world as well. We've seen it with the release of hostages in Gaza. You've seen it with the end of the conflict between India and Pakistan, which could have resulted in a nuclear war if we had not had a president who believed in the strength and the leverage that comes with the job of being the president of the United States of America. Rachel.
Thanks, Karoline. Heading into Alaska, a lot of the focus in the talk was on this trilateral meeting between these 3 leaders. Can you explain how this went from a trilateral meeting involving President Trump to now the focus being on this bilateral meeting without the president first?
Well, look, the president has spoken to both leaders about this, and both leaders have expressed a willingness to sit down with each other. And so our national security team will help both countries do that. Ultimately, the president has always said that there are areas of disagreement in this war that will have to be discussed discussed and decided upon by these two countries. And so he wants these two countries to engage in direct diplomacy. He's said that from the very beginning, which is why he's agreeable to the idea of having President Zelensky and President Putin get together. And I understand accommodations for that meeting are underway. As soon as we hear more details, we'll be sure to let all of you know.
And just a quick follow-up. We know as of right now there is no ceasefire in place. We've seen Russia continue its attacks on Ukraine. What indications is the president getting from Putin that he wants to have this meeting with Zelensky soon?
Because he spoke to him directly yesterday.
And he expressed that
Haley,
sooner rather than later.
He spoke to that directly yesterday, and the president put that in his statement that he gave to all of you, the news media, knowing you'd be asking following that conversation in the effort of transparency. Haley.
Hey, thanks, Karoline. You made clear no U.S. boots on the ground. Is the president considering U.S. boots in the air as a form of a security guarantee?
Look, that was something the president mentioned on his interview this morning. It is an option and a possibility. I won't certainly rule out anything as far as military options that the president has at his disposal. I'll let him do that. I can tell you he's definitively ruled out boots on the ground. Sure.
Thanks, Tara. Just about the possible venue for the talks. Can you confirm that Putin suggested Moscow as a venue for the bilateral talks? And if so, doesn't that indicate that Putin is perhaps not serious about this, that he's suggesting a venue that there's no way that Zelensky is going to go to?
Look, I'm not going to litigate the private conversations between the president and President Putin, aside from what the president himself has already spoken on. But I can tell you there are many options that are being discussed by our national security team right now with both parties.
Can you give us an indication of where?
I just told you we'll provide you details as soon as we can. Thank you for trying, though. Libby.
Thank you, Caroline. I wanted to ask about the National Guard troops. How is the White House coordinating with how they're being placed in D.C., what areas? And then also, how long should people here in the district anticipate the National Guard to be on the ground patrolling the streets?
I don't have a timeline for you, Libby, but we will keep you posted on that. I think the president, as you know, and this administration, he came to this briefing room with members of his cabinet to lay out the rationale and the reasoning for federalizing the National Guard here in Washington, D.C., and for our work with the Metropolitan Police Department to make our district safer. We've seen violent crime has taken the lives of far too many residents here in our nation's capital, and the president wants to make it safe again. And as for the coordination efforts, this interagency team is meeting and talking daily. In fact, there's a meeting taking place right now in the West Wing with members of the interagency task force to continue to discuss not just the National Guard deployment, but also how we can continue to remove public safety threats off of the streets of Washington, which, as the numbers I just showed you prove, they are doing every single night. I will just reiterate, 465 total arrests and counting since the start of this operation. I believe 11 or 12 days ago. I'll have to check the calendar, but those are pretty remarkable results. If not for this task force and their high level of coordination and the leadership of this president, there would have been 465 more violent criminals on the streets of this capital that you all live in every day. So I think we should all be very grateful for that. Stephen.
Thank you, Caroline. 3 questions about the D.C. crackdown.
Sure.
First, I was wondering if you could clarify something President Trump said. He mentioned getting rid of the slums where criminals live. Was he talking about tents or permanent residential buildings? And then the mayor has expressed an interest in clarifying how much of a focus illegal immigration enforcement is as part of this crackdown. Can you say anything about that?
Sure.
And third, any preview on the beautification?
3 questions. I'll try to answer all 3 of them pointedly for you. First, when it comes to what you said, and the president said, the slums of Washington, D.C., he's referring to the most dangerous communities, neighborhoods, and streets in the city where, unfortunately, violence has ravaged these communities and taken the lives of, again, far too many law-abiding D.C. residents. We know on July 5th of this year, just more than a month ago, a 3-year-old beautiful young girl was shot and killed in her car with her family in one of these communities, which is why there has been a surge, despite what many of you have been falsely reporting. And I believe it was the Washington Post who put out a map claiming it to be fact-based when it was just based on, I don't know, accounts that they've heard on the street, not actual statistics and data. So we went and reconfigured the numbers, and as I said, nearly half of all the non-illegal alien-related arrests have occurred in wards 7 and 8 in the District of Columbia, where we know, excuse me, there's the highest rate of of crime. So we'll continue to do that. And what was your second question, Stephen?
Legal immigration, how much of a focus that is?
Yeah, look, I mean, the focus is to make D.C. safe and beautiful and to remove public safety threats and violent criminals from our streets. If federal law enforcement, with the help of the Metropolitan Police Department, come across illegal aliens, of course, we are going to abide by this administration's policy of law and order, and we are going to remove illegal criminals from our nation's capital. They will be detained and deported, just like they are in every other community across the country. Kristen.
First question is, whose idea was it to change the next steps from a trilateral to a bilateral meeting?
It was an idea that evolved in the course of the president's conversations with both President Putin, President Zelensky, and the European leaders yesterday. And as you saw, Kristen, with all of those European leaders leaving the White House, including the NATO Secretary General, they all agreed that this is a great first step. And it's a good thing that these two leaders are going to be sitting down together, and the president expects that to happen.
And how long is Trump willing to wait and operate in good faith for Putin to actually arrange a meeting before he intervenes?
Look, the president has put tremendous public pressure to bring this war to a close. He's taken actions, as you've seen, sanctions on India and other actions as well. He's made himself very clear that he wants to see this war end, and he has scoffed at the ideas of others that have been raised that we should wait another month before any meeting takes place. The president wants to move, and he wants to bring this war to an end as quickly as possible.
Just a clarification on something you said earlier about Putin agreeing to the meeting. The Kremlin seemed to indicate that Putin did not firmly agree to a bilateral. Did he agree to have a sit-down with just Zelensky on the phone?
I can assure you that the United States government and the Trump administration is working with both Russia and Ukraine to make that bilateral happen as we speak. Sean.
Hey, if the point is to get everybody on the same page, why wouldn't Trump just take the call from Putin while the other leaders were in the room? He said it would be disrespectful to do that. But why is it disrespectful?
With all due respect, only a reporter from the New York Times would ask a question like that, Sean. The president met with all of these European leaders at the White House 48 hours after sitting down with President Putin on American soil. In fact, there was so much progress in the readout that was given to these European leaders immediately following his meeting with President Putin that every single one of them got on a plane 48 hours later and flew to the United States of America. And if I could just read for all of you some of the statements from those European leaders yesterday, you had President Zelensky himself saying it was a very good conversation. It was really good. We spoke about very sensitive points. The Secretary General, Mark Rutte, it was the president, only because of the president, that this deadlock was broken, but with President Putin by starting a dialogue. So these leaders, who this war is in their backyard, are very grateful that the president took that call and that he was there to provide them with a readout of Russia's thinking on this, something that was not done by the previous administration at all. Catherine.
Thank you. Is the White House looking at Budapest as a possible location?
I'm not going to confirm or deny locations. We'll provide you with details as soon as we can.
Just following up on Kristen's question, I understand that the White House is working and allies are working to make this meeting happen, but did Putin promise to do a meeting with Zelensky, a direct meeting, in the coming weeks?
He has, and I just answered that question for you. Franco.
Thanks. I just want to clarify. So you are saying that President Trump is considering U.S. pilots and U.S. aircraft potentially supporting European or Ukrainian forces?
The president spoke to that himself this morning when he called into Fox and Friends, and I would defer you to his answer. You can read it directly yourself.
In addition, can I ask, no boots on the ground, Steve Witkoff's talking about Article 5-like security guarantees. Can you talk about what other Article 5-like security guarantees that are being considered if it's not boots on the ground?
These are very sensitive diplomatic discussions that are currently taking place literally as we speak. So I will leave it to the national security team, and I'll leave it to the president to have those private discussions with these leaders as we try to bring this war to an end.
And can I ask one
Mary
more?
Margaret, go ahead.
Thanks, Caroline. Two questions, if that's okay. So on these meetings, I know you said that the trilateral will take place if necessary. Do you think that we might not need the trilateral and that Zelensky and Putin might come to this conclusion on their own? And then as a follow-up, I know the president said on Fox News this morning that he's partially seeking peace in order to get to heaven. Was he joking, or is there spiritual motivation behind his peace deals here?
I think the president was serious. I think the president wants to get to heaven, as I hope we all do in this room as well. Annie.
Thanks, Caroline. I'm just shifting gears to the Department of Justice for a minute. Can you walk us through why another deputy FBI director was named? Does Trump have any displeasure with how the FBI has been being run to date? And then I have a question about the antitrust division.
No, Andrew Bailey is extremely qualified. As you know, he's been serving with honor as the Attorney General of Missouri, and he's been brought on as another set of very credible and experienced hands to work alongside the current Deputy Director, Dan Bongino, under the leadership of the Director, Kash Patel, and the Attorney General, Pam Bondi. And the FBI has been doing a tremendous job. We've seen their agents out on the streets as part of this interagency task force here in Washington. But the crime that they've been stopping here in Washington, they've been doing this for 7 months all across the country. In fact, there's been 19,000 arrests by the FBI nationwide. That's more than double last year in the same time period. Of those, 1,600 arrests were for violent crimes against children. 4,000 child victims have been rescued by this FBI under this current leadership. 1,000 arrests from investigations of foreign terrorist organizations. There's been 1,500 kilos of fentanyl seized. 6,300 kilos of meth have been seized. And 3 of the top 10 most wanted have been arrested so far. Not a single one of the individuals on the top 10 most wanted list were arrested under the previous administration. We've arrested 3 in 7 months. So when you're actually working and enforcing law and order, you need all hands on deck. And so we look forward to welcoming Andrew Bailey to this new post. Jackie.
I have a quick question about Roger Alfred, who's a former DOJ official. He gave a speech in Aspen yesterday where he said that senior DOJ aides are cutting deals with favored lobbyists. I'm wondering if the president has any concerns at all with the way the antitrust division is working.
I have no idea who that individual is. I don't know why he made those comments. I don't know what basis he's making those comments on. My instinct tells me it's not true, but we will definitely look into them and I'll get you a response.
Thank you, Caroline.
Jackie.
Thanks, Caroline. Since the president often says that this war would not have started if he were in office, and Putin confirmed that.
It's true. Do you accept that as true? The European leaders do.
Well,
and President Putin himself said that, by the way.
He did say that. The question I have, though, is what is the president going to do to ensure that these security guarantees last beyond him into the time when he is no longer president? And does that have to involve Congress at all?
Well, he understands the need for that, which he spoke to yesterday. And what's he going to do? It's why he's engaging in so many talks and so many conversations with both sides of this war with our European allies. It's why on the way home from Anchorage, Alaska, very late at night, when I know many of you on the press plane were sleeping and many staff were sleeping, the president himself was still awake at 2 o'clock in the morning talking to European leaders and NATO about how we can ensure a lasting peace and bring this conflict to an end. He has expended an incredible amount of time, energy, and effort into bringing this war to an end, and he remains determined to do that.
Also, can I ask you about the
Thank you, Caroline.
DC crime?
Sure, Jake, and then to your right.
Thank you, Caroline. Which of the half-dozen peace deals that the president's pulled off would you say he's the most proud of? And then I have another question.
That's a good question, Jake. I'll leave that to the president to answer. I think he's proud of all of the peace deals that he's been able to achieve. You saw the president of Armenia and the head of Azerbaijan both at the White House just a couple of weeks ago. The president, I know, very much enjoyed spending time with them and helping to bring that conflict to an end. He very much enjoyed his time with leaders of Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of the Congo in the Oval Office, talking to them about bringing that decades-long war to an end. India and Pakistan. He used trade in a very powerful way as leverage to bring that conflict to an end. So I know he's very proud of all of these achievements, and I know he's very honored to serve as the President of the United States and to restore peace around this world. Go ahead.
So you mentioned Armenia and Azerbaijan. That's a conflict that, I spent time in the Southern Caucasus covering that. And, a conflict of over 30 years, and he resolved it in just a couple of months. Mm-hmm. Are there other conflicts that the president's working on right now that are off the radar screen that we should be tracking?
In fact, there are many. The State Department is always working around the clock under the leadership of Secretary Rubio and keeping the president apprised of conflicts that are bubbling up all over the world. But of course, as you all know, as we've talked a lot about in this briefing, he's spending a lot of time right now on ending this war in Russia-Ukraine, and of course the conflict in Israel and Gaza, which he wants to see come to a close as well. Sure, go ahead.
So the president says that he's starting a movement to eliminate mail-in voting, but states administer elections, not federal federal authorities. So can you provide any more details about how the White House plans to eliminate that?
The White House continues to work on this, and when Congress comes back to Washington, I'm sure there will be many discussions with our friends on Capitol Hill and also our friends in state legislatures across the country to ensure that we're protecting the integrity of the vote for the American people. And I think Republicans generally, and the president generally, wants to make it easier for Americans to vote and harder for people to cheat in our elections. And it's quite mind-boggling that the Democrat Party could stand in opposition to common sense. He wants to ensure election integrity. There were great efforts that were made in 2024. I won't get ahead of myself for Hatch Act reasons to get ahead for the next election, but I can assure you this is a priority for the president. Go ahead.
If I could just follow up on your comments about Gaza.
Sure.
There was a ceasefire proposal put forward by both Qatar and Egypt. Hamas accepted it on Monday. Israel has yet to officially weigh in. I'm wondering if the U.S. was at all involved in it, if it's supportive of it, and whether or not the president believes Israel should accept it.
I don't think it's a coincidence that Hamas accepted this proposal after the President of the United States posted a very strong statement about this conflict on Truth Social yesterday. I would refer you back to that statement. As for this proposal that Hamas has now accepted, the United States continues to discuss it, and I'll let the President weigh in on it definitively. You're welcome. Sure.
Caroline, can you describe the president's perspective on taking a stake in Intel in exchange for federal grants? And is this are we expecting to see the White House make similar arrangements with other semiconductor companies and manufacturing companies?
Well, the president, he's been very clear about the need to reshore manufacturing that's critical to our national and economic security. That is especially in regards to chips and semiconductors, which is why the president has initiated the Commerce Department to conduct a study on semiconductors, a Section 232 investigation, so we can ultimately implement tariffs. And it's why our export license requirements remain in place as well. As for this 10% government stake deal, the Department of Commerce continues to work on it. I know Secretary Lutnick is working on it and ironing out the details, but the president wants to put America's needs first, both from a national security and economic perspective. And it's a creative idea that has never been done before to ensure that we're both reshoring these critical supply chains while also gaining something of it for the American taxpayer. You're welcome. Emily.
Thanks, Caroline. I wanted to ask about the 3 U.S. warships that are being sent to Venezuela, and there's 4,000 Marines on board. Are you looking at possibility of boots on the ground there?
What I will say with respect to Venezuela, President Trump has been very clear and consistent. He's prepared to use every element of American power to stop drugs from flooding into our country and to bring those responsible to justice. The Maduro regime is not the legitimate government of Venezuela. It is a narco-terror cartel. In Maduro, it is the view of this administration, is not a legitimate president. He is a fugitive head of this cartel who has been indicted in the United States for trafficking drugs into the country. And with that, I will leave you all, and we will see you later, if not tomorrow. And I look forward to taking more of your questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Caroline. Thank you.
All right, so it's 1:45 Eastern, and I would like to say that a CNN reporter, a New York Times reporter, and a third fake news reporter disrespected President Trump today. How do I know? Well, if you're at someone's house, you don't call someone by their last name usually, do you? Well, this time I've covered a lot of these press conferences, and usually you wouldn't say something like, if it was the previous administration, if I was sitting in the press briefing room, I would be like, what does Biden think about this, and Biden this, and Biden that? Well, that's what happened today. They were asking these questions, and again, I know this is a very small detail, but it's still profound in some ways to show the disrespect for President Donald J. Trump. They were asking, will Trump do this, or will Trump do that, or what's Trump's stance on this or that? Some reporters in there said, well, what does the president have to say, or what does President Trump have to say? Again, a minor detail, but that's President Trump's house. That's where he lives, and he's the leader of the free world, and these reporters, CNN, New York Times, and I'm not sure who the third reporter was, it's almost like they spoke together and said, let's just call him Trump today and be a little bit disrespectful. Again, the reason why I'm bringing it up is because we've covered a lot of press conferences here at Right Side, and I've never heard that before. I listen in just like you guys are listening, and they usually say the president out of respect or President Trump. So, dear fake news, It's President Donald J. Trump. Just like if Obama was the president, you wouldn't be sitting there and say, Obama, what does Obama think about this? It's very disrespectful, at least for the office of the president, when it comes to specifically at the White House and a press briefing. So there are times that we say a Trump rally, we don't say President Trump rally, but we're not at the White House press briefing room, and it's just a little decorum that I just saw there, and I thought it was disrespectful to President Trump. So anyway, hopefully next press briefing they'll say the president or President Trump instead of what does Trump think about this and what does Trump think about that. He's the leader of the free world that we, the people, decided to have as our president. Anyway, I'll move on. This broadcast brought to you by a number of great sponsors, including All Family Pharmacy. So let's go to that really quickly. You want to be prepared, of course, and you want the treatments your family might need before an emergency hits. But most pharmacies and insurance companies make that almost impossible with gatekeepers and outrageous prices. So All Family Pharmacy is different. Here you can stock up on your essential medications, order exactly what you want, and keep it on hand so you're ready for anything. Now, while other pharmacies are raising prices, All Family Pharmacy, they actually have lowered theirs, giving you 25% off their most requested medications, ivermectin and mebendazole, plus an extra 10% off with our promo code RSBN10. So they offer medications many providers refuse, like ivermectin starting at just $2 per capsule, hydroxychloroquine, mebendazole, methylene blue, and antibiotics, antivirals, and more. So this is all with a doctor's prescription included. Ordering is simple. Fill out your request online. A licensed doctor will review that, and your medications will be shipped directly to your door in just a few days. So you can check them out. You'll definitely find something that you need there. You go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN and use code RSBN10 to save an extra 10%. Also, if you'd like to donate to Right Side Broadcasting Network, there's a few ways you can do that. You can text RSBN to 801-801 or go to RSBN Network or rsbnetwork.com/donate. Also, for those of you that are sending checks, I know that there are some that still do that and on a monthly basis here. So thank you guys for being financial donors to this network as we continue to cover all sorts of news that you guys see. And for those of you that have been here since 11 this morning, thanks for watching. We covered a lot of topics, and we obviously saw Karoline Leavitt there, so that was great. But if you'd like to send a check or cash, you can do so at our P.O. Box. So it's 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344, Auburn, Alabama 36830. All right, so it's 10 minutes to the top of the hour. We know that President Trump at 1 o'clock Eastern was signing a congressional bill at 1 o'clock. That was closed press. So we'll see what that bill is sometime here in the near future, maybe on Truth Social. If we see any kind of feed, we'll obviously share that with you, whether it's live right here on Right Side or uploaded to various social platforms out there. All right, guys, thanks so much for sticking with us here for the past few hours. We'll have a lot of coverage as it happens throughout the week. For all of us at Right Side, I'm Matthew Alvarez. We'll see you again soon.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed, so join the heart of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can scan that QR code now, RSBN10. That is the code, easy to remember, for 10% off. This is ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, antibiotics that will save you and yours from bacterial and viral infections, NAD+, and much, much more. 200 essential medications and emergency medical kits, the meds you trust delivered to your door.